watched it, but it just gives you another glimpse into who Donald Trump was. I was watching. I don't remember what it was. It might have been somebody's live today, or it could have just been something I saw on YouTube. But oh, you know what it was? Yeah, it was on YouTube. It was a guy that was saying like, let me get like that same old tired narrative of why would Donald Trump leave this perfect life and come be president? Well, it's because his perfect life was all a facade. Like none of that was real. Hey, Felice.
Hey.
Oh, gotta fix it.
There we go. It's
That should be better. Is that
Can
good?
you hear me? Hello?
Oh, loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Hello.
Anyways, the article just it'll dig into a lot of stuff. Like one, you'll realize that Donald Trump had very little to do with the fact that The Apprentice existed, that he doesn't pay his bills, and that he also apparently uses the N
He
word.
doesn't pay his bills?
Yeah, I
Just
know
kidding.
that's the shocking part.
Just
None of this should be shocking, but also, so this was written by, and like I said, I don't know if we'll cover. I don't think it's the most important thing
It's
today,
written
but
by Bill Pruitt.
okay, who
I added
was
it to our outline, but I mean it's probably not on like the shared doc between you, me, and Jen, like our notes app. It's
okay.
14.
He was a producer on The Apprentice, and he signed an NDA that lasted 20 years. It would cost him $5 million if he broke the NDA. Well, that just expired. So he is now out of his NDA, and he's gonna talk. Apparently, there is a video though of Donald Trump saying the N word that exists somewhere. Which didn't that rumor happen in when he ran initially in 2016? Wasn't there? I feel like I've heard that rumor
Thanks,
going
Sully.
around
Good
before.
morning.
Hey,
Looking
Sully.
forward to some dad jokes.
But am I wrong? Was that not? I could have sworn that was like people had hinted at a video existing.
His dad took him to clan meetings. I
Yeah,
mean, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I don't think. I love.
Well, that's just how they
Thank you,
ran their Boy
Fax. Good
Scouts.
morning.
That's
Yeah,
what he called Boy Scouts.
yeah, exactly. It's which was is so interesting. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard. Yeah, I was just getting more into the clan. It's a long story, but it's Rachel Maddow's podcast Ultra. That's now what her book prequel is about. It goes off of her Emmy winning. I believe she won an Emmy for the podcast or something. Like she's won. Do you know Rachel Maddow's won a bunch of Emmy? She's won Emmys. She's won quite a few awards. I was reading into.
No, because
But
if you
that
remember, until like 3 months ago, I still refused to watch MSNBC. So no, I did not catch that news
oh
that
yeah.
she's
Well,
decorated. Yeah.
not for that. Yeah, I mean she's quite accomplished, but I was just I mean not reading the book prequel but just going over some stuff that was in the podcast, and a lot of it's about the rise of fascism in America. All of this happened before in the 40s basically, and it's going over that. And um Joy Reid, who's actually one of Rachel Maddow's real life best friends, she's a Harvard graduate. She has her own show on MSNBC, The Readout, and she just wrote a book. And James Baldwin talks a lot about Medgar Evers. He said that like James Baldwin's inspiration, he said like Medgar Martin, Medgar Malcolm Martin, referring to like the three assassinations that occurred during, during the fight for civil rights, essentially. And they had a 2-hour show at the Apollo. Anyways, sorry, this is just going. You mentioned the N word, and I was hearing Rachel Maddow. They were at the Apollo in Harlem for 2 hours, basically discussing like the rise of the Klan, and a senator. His name's Theodore Bilbo, who essentially, and telling the story of basically, the rise of civil rights, the assassination of Medgar Evers, and just the Klan. This guy is and what he was doing in the Senate, and it's terrifying. Like,
Yeah, he's just running around with his
I
other
think we
clan
need to
friends.
start going over this stuff though, because it's very like they were talking about like when all this stuff, like the history of the Klan, pulling down all these statues, when it's all lost to history, is that a good thing? Because of course that's like as Rachel Maddow put it, it's a great curse, right, to be lost to history. But now we're in this situation again where no one remembers what already happened.
Right.
Anyways, sorry.
No, I think that's right. I think that I mean, I don't think maybe within the last year or two was the first time I'd ever heard the name Medgar Evans. Like I didn't know that name.
Evers.
Evers. Yeah, sorry. What did I say? Did I say Evans?
Evans, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Medgar Evans. That's a hard name to say. But Medgar Evers. I don't, and it was on a live. I remember looking it up. I don't remember whose live it was. I'd never even heard that name before. So, yeah, like I
Yeah,
think
it's
that
shocking how many people don't know who Medgar Evers is. I agree, and it's a crazy. We should get more into it. But yeah, they and someone said they saw it. It was a 2 hour show on. They played it Sunday and Monday night at the Apollo, and it changed my life. But we should all. Joy Reid has a book on it. It kind of focuses on the love story between Medgar Evers and his wife, but basically tells the story of how he worked. He came back from World War II, and he basically said that, the civil rights movement was about young people, right? Because there were African Americans who couldn't lose their jobs and essentially didn't really want to risk like what it was going to take to, when there were laws made saying that, let's say, African Americans could vote. Well, who wanted to go get the shit beaten out of them, to go try it? Like, and it was these really young men who had come back from World War II, from combat. A lot of African Americans just stayed in Europe. In France, it was fine to be an African American, but Medgar Evers personally came back and to Mississippi, where Theodore Bilbo was a senator, and decided to fight and said, like, no, who else is going to do this if not me? It's pretty crazy story. It's tragic.
I don't even, like I said, I don't remember where I was, but I don't even remember what we were talking about when it came up. I know virtually nothing about Medgar Evers. I probably need to go watch that.
Yeah, his wife was like, I just want to survive. Imagine being an African
Yeah.
American. There were many African Americans who just wanted to stay in segregated areas. Just they didn't want to be lynched. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the NAACP wouldn't give Medgar Evers money for security, and if your car broke down in the wrong neighborhood, you were dead. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so like it was just it's sad, but I mean it was pretty much a matter of time, and it goes through like what was happening to his wife at home. She was the one when their home was being firebombed by the Klan with the hose, trying to put the fire out by
The
herself.
the
Like,
the fire hose. It's
yes.
I was like, who were the
With the
hose?
hose,
The
yeah.
way you said it, I was like, it was the
Yeah,
Klan and the hose. I was
not
like,
a
who were
bunch
the
of
hose?
hoes,
I don't
but
I don't
yeah.
know them.
Anyways, we'll
I
we'll
think
get
I'd
into
like them
that at
though.
another time. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
start doing like an hour of like history like at another time, because we really should all be keeping up on that. Rachel Maddow's right. We probably wouldn't be in this situation now if we all had working knowledge of what had happened in this country in the 40s and 50s.
Well, speaking of people who wouldn't want Medgar Evers to voice his opinion, the jury's out for Donald Trump today. They're back to deliberating.
You guys
Uh,
are the jury today. Guess what today is, guys? Great news. We're
it's
going
you.
to, you're the jury, and we're going to read you the jury instructions. Or as they're called,
So
the post summation instructions. They're actually quite interesting. They're super easy to understand, and it will give us all like a really good handle on what they're talking about and why they're asking for information. But like I knew it was a good sign, them asking questions, the questions they were asking yesterday. But then once you hear the jury instructions, like you see that they're real, by New York law, they're following the instructions, and they're corroborating Michael Cohen's testimony
Well,
correctly.
do we want to cover? We didn't cover it yesterday. Do we want to cover Trump's temper tantrum?
Which
Should we
one?
show that?
Which
This
one
is
are
the
you
one
talking?
where he's like the one where multiple times he wrote down some lines in court, but he's like, Mother Teresa couldn't beat these
Oh
charges.
yeah, yeah. We can show this. Oh,
Yeah,
those clips. Yeah, we can
I
do
think we
this.
should
Let
make
me
fun of him for a second. It'll make me feel better
let me add my backup, and you mute it.
on it. While you guys are waiting for that backup account to come up, Jen, actually, we just grab that. Um, as always, we rely on donations to keep going. There's the Cash App and the Venmo. If you send a donation and you want to add a message to that, we'll read it. we are partial to jokes, especially bad dad jokes. Terrible dad jokes are our guilty pleasure. So please send those if you feel like you want to. We're live streaming on YouTube right now, so you can watch us there. And of course, the conversation is always heavy in the Discord. I sent out a bunch of Discord invites yesterday, so welcome to the. I think probably there was at least 8 people I think that joined the Discord yesterday. So welcome. I hope you're here, and welcome to the Discord. Welcome to hell.
The
Welcome to
Gates
the jungle.
8. Welcome
Yeah,
to the Discord.
that's
That's what
right.
they call the 8 people that voted out McCarthy. The the
We
crazy
should
8.
change the name to the Gates 8 for
You're
our
now the
Discord.
Gates 8,
Yeah.
whoever you are. um,
Also, it sounds
did you
like
go
a
through the
death cult.
clips? Yeah, in the outline. They're hilarious.
Uh,
Yes, what's happening outside the courthouse is it's devolved into absolute embarrassing chaos. Like I can't wait. I'm glad we're going through these because if you do want to laugh, I laughed so hard
well,
making these clips.
I watched a bunch yesterday after our live ended, and then I was reading the jury instructions, and then like my brain just quit. So then I turned on Netflix. There's this new documentary about all these TikTok dancers and
Oh,
how they
it's
were in a
7M.
cult.
I watched
7M,
that
you know
last
about
night
that?
too.
Okay, yeah,
No, wait, that's
crazy.
been hold on. That in fairness, that already happened on TikTok like a year and a half ago, and now
Yeah,
this documentary's come out. I remember when like her family was making video and her sister were making videos on TikTok being like someone help us get control like get contact with our daughter, like these dancers are in a cult and they're keeping there's these
yeah.
dancers on TikTok like
You've
there's
seen
a
them. Everybody has seen
yeah,
them.
these are famous. And like we're talking about like millions and millions of followers.
Yeah.
One of they were on. Several of them were on. So you think you can dance? Like these are pretty well known people, and they ended. They're in a cult essentially, and it's called 7M. Is that what it?
I don't think that's what it was called. It was called like
It's called no. It is called 7M. I'm sure that the cult is called
no, no, no.
7M.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking what the documentary was called.
It's called 7M, and then some words after the
Something like
documentary.
and the church is like
Oh wait, I can just open
Zuku.
it.
Is
I
that what
can
it
just
is?
open. It just occurred to me. I could just open Netflix because I have it saved. I'm pretty sure. So just give me a second. I'll tell you what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, it is called "Dancing for the Devil," the
Mm,
7M TikTok cult.
mm,
Yeah, this it's basically this really talented videographer who had all this equipment. He's this Asian fellow. His name's Isaiah, I believe Shin, and his dad is this like Asian pastor in LA. And
yeah.
that's how they like got their hooks in these kids. And now basically it's a cult where you like pray and you make a lot of money and then you donate it back to the Lord, which is this Asian man, which is the
Yeah.
dad.
It was like I think the fee like you had a 20 or maybe thirty
It's like
percent
10% here, 10% to the
Yeah,
big guy.
it was like 30% or 20% management fee, I can't remember. And then it's 10% tithing, 10%
Yeah.
offering, and
Yeah, there's
10%
tithing
something
and
else.
offerings. Like
Yeah.
what? It's basically like 50% of these kids' money. Again, these
Oh,
are
Mormons did
very
that
famous
too.
kids that are doing ads for like Coach, like Louis Vuitton. Like these are kids with huge brand deals, young, successful dancers.
Yeah, like if you look up Miranda, it was Wilking. I think it's Derek now. I weirdly enough, like maybe
And
2 or 3 weeks ago, I forget the guy's name. It might be Vic. There's like a guy that has tall hair, white guy that dances with them.
yeah, Vic. No, yeah,
Is it Vic?
he got third place on So You Think You Can Dance. Yeah.
Okay, well I didn't know that, but I've seen him a bunch, and I'm
That's
like, oh, he's a
sad that I
great
know it. I'm
dancer.
embarrassed that I know it.
And like 3 weeks, weirdly I've missed all this, but like 3 weeks ago, I looked him up, and I'm like, where did this dude come from? And you really don't know. Like when you go on to like I just looked at his Instagram page, like there's no clues as to like where this guy came from, what his history is. He's always wearing a cross, and I was just like, that's. I mean, it's just surprising to me that somebody who like runs in Hollywood and runs in these groups like is dancing with all these other people that have crosses on. I was just surprised by it. And then this happened. So apparently I missed all this drama on TikTok a while ago, but I didn't know any of this.
I just remember it was around, it was like right after the pandemic when like her parents and her sister were like, they won't let us talk to like our daughter, like please help us. And then yeah, now this documentary came out. I only finished the first episode, so I need to finish. Again, if you want to watch that documentary, it's called Dancing for the Devil: The 7M TikTok Cult. And it just came out. And then actually, funny you should mention that because there's another documentary that I want to suggest to people. It just came out on Amazon. Let me pull up and get the name. But it's about Kevin Spacey. And everyone should watch it because
I don't know. Yeah,
I mean,
he was my
it's called
favorite actor.
Spacey. Me too. You don't understand how much
Yeah,
I
it
love Kevin
sucks.
Spacey, and it's called Spacey Unmasked. I also suggest that one. It's pretty trigger warning, like if you've been sexually abused, because it will
Yeah,
bother you.
I'll
But it's
watch it
just a
though,
great
maybe.
example of like what you need to understand about abusers is at one point they were all victims, right? Like
Yeah.
hurt people. Like when you hear about what was going on in the house Kevin Spacey grew up in, like
Well, and that's true of Donald
he's
Trump.
actually controlling himself quite well.
Yeah, like you wonder why Donald Trump is the way he is. Crazy parents.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah,
Like they were all
they were
victims
abusive.
before they were victimizing people,
So
and
be a
it's
good parent
yeah.
if you have kids
Amen.
out there.
Amen. Anyways, that's enough. And that's enough documentary
We're all
recommendations. It's
caught up.
yeah. I think we're good on that. Okay. So let me. Oh wait. Let me pull up the
Yeah, it's true of
notes.
Trump's kids too. Yeah, it's just generational. They're gonna keep passing it down.
Yeah, that's why I can't be super mad at Don Jr. because I recognize in Don Jr. and his addiction, like all of the things I went through, like being raised in a house with like a narcissist, an authoritarian narcissist, like that's what's wrong with Don Jr. It's like
I
I
saw.
see so much of myself in him.
I don't know if you saw this. There was a clip yesterday of Don Jr. like just like checking in, making a video, and he's at this table with his dad. There's like junk food around, and he's like, "Oh, Dad, you just said something amazing. What was that again?" And
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
like, "Yeah, I did. I'm probably gonna save it for True Social though." And just like won't even let Don Jr. have that quote. He's like, "Yeah." But yeah, I'll probably just save it for True Social. Check it out later. And Don's like, okay. Just puts it down. Like he thought he I was just thinking he probably had like this moment with his dad where his dad felt like a real person and they like they came to something brilliant
Yeah.
together, and then when he tried to just join his dad's like, nah, fuck you. I'm getting the credit for this.
Dude, you know how many, I still have those moments with my parents all the time where I'm like, this is a moment, like, I feel like it's happening, like, maybe my mom loves me. And then it's just like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just that wall is always there. It's always there. There's no effective empathy. Anyways, but I digress. So let's get into what was going on yesterday because it's super funny. Okay, so the Mother Teresa, yeah, Trump was I can't, first of all, I can't even believe they let um Alina Habba. Like so many the few Fox journalists that actually have some credibility must be so angry that Alina Habba is allowed to be on Fox. Like
Yeah.
because of Donald Trump, this woman just gets free airtime for hours. She just sits there and
Well,
talks.
it's part of the game too, right? Like uh, you hear people all the time say like there's all these legal experts. Trump says it every day. There's all these brilliant legal experts that are agreeing with me on Fox. No, they're there to agree with you. That was their job. Their job was to show up and agree with you and keep the Trump voters happy. That's what like I understand exactly what you're saying. Those journalists are probably pissed, but they're also probably used to it.
Amen. Okay, here we go. Well, and away we go.
And I think that's why the president's comments and sentiments are exactly accurate. You know, Mother Teresa really couldn't get out of this one because if you say, you know, if you have intent for a scintilla of a second, and it could be for anything, for any one of these four things: taxes, campaign,
It's three
all the
things.
things that frankly they showed no evidence of. But they gave them so much breadth that I have concerns. Do you have
She knows nothing about the law.
Yeah,
So how did she get through law school?
I just wonder. This is a very common thread from yesterday of like after Trump said this Mother Teresa line, and everybody's saying the same thing. You know what it tells me? It tells me they didn't mount a defense. Every one of them is speaking like he's guilty. Trump is speaking like he's guilty, or is going to be found
Well,
guilty.
that they're tempering expectations now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely that's what you saw in the media yesterday. Is now they're preparing for him to
They
be
are
guilty.
poisoning the well immediately, just so that, again, we were talking about the poll, that NPR poll that came out today, and how we don't like polls. And one of the things that was in that poll was like the people that are more likely to vote for Donald Trump if he is convicted. Yet bullshit, like bullshit. They were gonna vote for him anyways.
Yeah.
And now when they're like, well, what if he's convicted? Like, that'll make my vote stronger. No, it won't. It'll make it the exact same strength that it is right fucking now. What you're just telling everybody is like, we don't care. We don't know, and also we don't care, and we're completely convinced that this is a hoax. And that's what they have to rely upon. And we say it a lot, but I took a Uber back today. I had to drop off a car, and then I took a Uber back. And I was talking to the driver, who was really cool, really good musician, by the way.
I love Uber rides. I love talking to people who drive Ubers.
I hate them, and I
Maybe
always
that's a
put
sign
quiet
of my
ride.
loneliness.
I push quiet ride, and they always talk to me anyways. But this time it was good, and so I just told him what I did, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm like a moderate." I was like, "Yeah, of course you are." But then he explained he actually kind of was a moderate, and he was telling me just like what he hates about politics, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's all of us," because for the average human being that's normal, that's not me, that's not you, that just like has a life and doesn't hate themselves, like they look at what's happening and it must be baffling to them that from a spectator's view, you like there's two realities here that you have to pick between. You're not allowed to like be in the middle. There is no like middle ground between MAGA and what we call as reality, and maybe we're a little delusional sometime, but like
Earth
there's
1
not even
versus Earth 2.
there's not
as
even
they
a
call
gray
it.
area anymore, right? Like
No.
it's just completely separated. There is no such thing as a moderate politically anymore. You're one or the other.
Well, I mean, and I think that Fox has made it that way. Like, what is getting? It's actually getting worse. Yesterday on Fox, because again, I record the whole news day on Fox. I record the whole news day on Newsmax. Like, I record the whole news day on CNN and the whole news day on MSNBC.
Felice's
Fox-
entire house is My Pillows, just everywhere. If you check
Fox's
it out. And gold.
Fox no longer tells the truth at all. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it is 24 hours a day gaslighting. So anybody who's watching Fox News it's not that, oh, like this is skewed, oh, this is opinionated. It is literal lies. And we'll get into some of the lies that they were telling, but they're telling Trump's lies. Like right now, there's half of our country or whatever, the people watching right side media that truly believe that that there doesn't have to be a unanimous finding by the jurors, right? Fox News, they were like, let's just play some of these clips. They were saying this on Fox.
Hold on, because Sully wants to ask you a question. Sully would like to know, how do you get Donald Trump to change a light bulb?
Wow.
Tell him Obama put it in.
That's true. Amen
And then,
to that.
and then Robin says, I used to be a baker, but I couldn't make enough dough.
Dough.
That's good.
Get it?
Good start, Robin. Good
Dough.
start, both of you. Well
Love
done.
it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Felice.
We should put out like a coffee table joke book, like the best jokes from this live.
That's
like,
not a bad idea.
Like, no, we need to start saving the best ones somehow. Like, that might be a good idea. Okay. Here we go. What? Oh, and I just wanted to mention back just to what you were saying. What number is this? There is an article, and we might get to it, we might not, but it's number 5 on the outline. You can just put it in the Discord now. It's called "In the Trial, Like the Election, Trump's Base is Inoculated Against Loss." Inoculated means vaccinated, and that's already true, right? It does
be
not
so
matter
mad to find
if
out they
Trump
were
won or
inoculated.
lost. They've already worked it out. Just the same now that his base is inoculated against election loss. If he loses, it's fake. It didn't happen, right? It's the same thing with the trial. It doesn't matter what the outcome of this trial is for the subsection of people in the Trump cult, because he's made it so if he doesn't get what he wants, then reality is a lie.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And we've gone so far from from what reality is now, that it really is like the line is no longer blurred. Like it doesn't exist. We're nowhere near the line anymore. And it's fucking frustrating, to be honest. Like it's hard to turn on the internet and see Jordan Peterson. Like I saw a clip of Jordan Peterson doing some anti-vax shit yesterday that was so moronic and so far removed from reality, and I was like, but this is actually an intelligent guy, and this is actually an opinion maker, and this is actually a person people follow, and he says things so passionately that people follow it. But it's like, dude, you're not even close to reality, not even anywhere near close.
Well, Jordan Peterson's intelligent for MAGA. He's the smartest of those people. He's the smartest of the idiots. Like, he's not I wouldn't say he's intelligent. Okay, here's one of Fox's lies that, like, infuriated me. Harrison Faulkner is the worst. She needs to go. She's the worst.
Todd Blanche, the defense attorney, said, he said, look, the former president could go to jail. And the judge said, that is outrageous. And why it matters, it's not the first time that Judge Merchan has reprimanded the defense for their conduct in the courtroom. So they just kept after. You weren't even allowed to say that this president faces going to jail.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're talking about what could happen to the former president easily.
Which
he could go to jail if found guilty.
As experts say, Brian, it's normal to talk about liberty issues in court.
I have
This
no
is
idea
not
what they
uncommon.
No, did you hear what she
for someone to bring
said?
this up.
Sorry.
Listen,
And the level in which
you gotta listen. Yeah,
Sorry.
Listen to.
Easily.
Which as
go to jail if found guilty.
As experts say, Brian, it's normal to talk about liberty issues in court. This is not uncommon for someone to bring this up.
That's a complete lie. It is never, you are never allowed to discuss sentencing in court. Like, these people are literally lying. That is the most outrageous thing that Todd Blanche did.
Can somebody ask what liberty issues are? Everybody knows you can't talk about liberty issues. What the fuck does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. That is nonsense gobbledygook. That doesn't mean anything. They just say things on Fox News that don't mean anything.
She said the opposite, though. She didn't say you can't talk. She said it's normal to talk about liberty issues.
She said everybody knows.
Normal. You are not allowed, right? The jury has nothing to do with sentencing, with them going to jail or not going to jail. That's the judge's purview, and it will affect, and we'll go over, and it's funny because I was so enraged by that, and then when I was reading the jury instructions, which we'll read to you guys as our jury, it specifically states why too. Like, you are never allowed to discuss, because could a jury deliberate in an unbiased way, knowing whether that someone may or may not end up in prison, especially, I don't know, a former president who has a history of ruining people's lives when he doesn't get what he wants. Could that affect the jury?
I think that's an important thing to remember, is that the jury's job is to decide what the facts say. The judge's job is to decide what the punishment is. Like, that's why judges exist. The general public doesn't decide what the punishment is. And I agree with you. Like, if you're thinking about jail time, you could be potentially persuaded to give more or less jail time if you were the jury, depending on your own personal feelings. We probably don't want in this country people's personal feelings determining jail time.
Yeah, and keep tapping the screen, you guys. We do appreciate it.
And by the way,
oh my God, just we have to laugh. So
Go ahead.
Listen. There's a group of there's not many Trump supporters outside the court, but for some reason, there's this one group of extremely religious Asian people, and I don't even know what to say about what these people are up to.
I gotta be honest, I owe them an apology. You may not remember this, but on day one, because these people have been there every day, I was like, I don't think they're gonna be there every day. I made the prediction that, like, didn't think, not only are they there, but they are performing the hell out of it.
On their knees, crying and sobbing and praying and singing like hymns.
Day one was just there, holding the signs, being like, we support Trump. And now they're holding, like, candlelight vigils and crying and speaking.
I think it's a good sign that Trump's going to be guilty. They're getting more and more frantic. Okay, anyways, watch. This is so crazy. These people are very worried about their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump.
Jesus and Lord. God. God thank you.
What's she looking for on her phone?
Stop it. Thank you.
Oh, there's Waldo.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. This is real life. I don't know. I'm just reporting the news. That's right, people. This is real life. This is not a drill.
Folks, it's a cult. It's just a cult, guys. You're just in a cult.
Where's Drew? Drew, maybe he's out there with
Drew.
these people.
Drew wrote the script for these people. You're just in a cult, and I don't think it's a bad guess. I see people saying like these are paid actors. I don't think that's a bad guess. It does come off pretty staged, but I've also talked to like thousands of Trump people at this point, and everything they do is so unbelievable that you're like, this has to be an act. Like, how many times have we thought people on this app were an act, and then like 2 years later they're still here, they're still doing the same thing, and it's gotten worse. I think it's fair to say this is an act, but it just as likely is not an act, which is way worse.
Let me show you something. This is from yesterday's outline. It's somewhere in there. I'm not going to look up the links, but look at these people that were out there. These are
Stop this.
How does no wait, you don't even understand. Hold on. You have to watch the whole performance. Like,
I know, but how did the QAnon shaman get knockoffs?
They have sage. No, this is another okay, you saw the Asian Trump religious performance. This is another one. Just watch this.
What?
And it involves unicycles.
Can we just, before this starts, wait, hold on. Can you pause it real quick? I just want everybody to remember that the people who do this side, they're also the ones that have a problem with drag. Like, can you be a man and wear women's clothes if you're a Republican? No. But can you do this? Oh, fuck yeah. Let's do it all day. That's not weird. It's not weird to put dead animals on your head and do rituals in front of a courthouse. But if you dare to put on women's clothes and read a story to children, you're insane. What the fuck? This is way weirder. Like, if you think that dressing in women's clothes is weird, this is way more weird. This is more weird.
Okay, prepare yourselves. This is, you don't even know how weird yet.
Let's shout America.
Hold on. Wait, I gotta tell you what is going on so you understand. Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear this, but what this guy in the middle is trying to do is coordinate, because they're being filmed, so they're trying to do like a religious performance. So he's like, on the count of 3, stand up and shout America. Like, just, it's so bad.
On the count of 3, let's shout America. 1, 2, and stand up. 1, 2, 3. America! Yes. Thank you for participating in this ceremony with us. To America, you guys are all blessed. The crooked press media, the liberal press media, you are all.
It's still.
What?
It's not done.
Was he Chinese? He's got a fucking umbrella.
This.
Parasol, dude. Oh, parasol. Sorry.
I'm Swedish, bro. Let's.
Oh, you're Swedish? You're a Viking. All right. Pictures. Demonic ritual. Demonic ritual.
are doing this to spread good vibrations to the crooked justice system. Okay? There's a lot of corrupt judges.
Watch, they have unicycles.
Of course.
Watch. He's chanting "Unlock him up." In case anyone's confused what's going on, they are riding around chanting "Unlock him up." That's the best that MAGA can come up with. You know what I mean? Unlock him up is where we're at.
Come on, this ain't real.
Drew, I thought you were out there. Is that you, Drew?
Stop it, it's not real.
Which one of these people is you?
They did the exact same thing with Occupy Wall Street. The exact same playbook. Come on. Look at that. Look how ridiculous that is. Come on.
Yeah,
Is that you?
Drew, a lot of the Occupy Wall Street people are now Trump people. Like, that's what happened to Tim Pool. Like, there was like a left, like
Democrats.
The Occupy Wall Street movement was viewed as like a leftist movement because it was against Bush, but it was also like Tea Partiers and like who has become QAnon. A ton of the like big QAnon people were also Occupy Wall Street, including the shaman. The shaman was like this. I see what you're saying, but like as crazy as you thought they were then, like that's who they are now with MAGA. But it's the same people.
Yeah, but Occupy Wall Street actually was a good cause. It was against the elite. It was against the banks that
dummies
perpetrated
can
the biggest
dummies
fraud
can
in human history and not getting any jail time, not a single one of them.
Yeah, dummies
it's a
can
big
be
difference.
involved in any protest, right? It can be a good protest or a bad one. They're dumb. They don't know either way, right? They just show up and do their thing.
Fox News was known to like make them look like crazies.
And now I bet Fox News isn't covering that right now. I bet Fox
but I
News
bet it's the
isn't
same
showing that.
Come on, that's ridiculous. Unicycles. I mean, it's too much. There's no way that's real.
It's
But
it's
that's
a
what,
lot,
listen,
Drew.
that's how, let's just remember though, that's how Donald Trump came into the political scene. Like, that's how he got the Tea Partiers on his side by saying, you remember, like, that was his whole, he bastardized part of Occupy Wall Street and said, like, oh, I don't need money. I don't need lobbyist money. Like, he played off all the corruption. I'm going to drain the swamp.
That's what
Now
got my
he is
attention.
the
and
corruption.
That's what got my attention initially, and Obama said the same thing when he was on the campaign trail the first time, and that's what got my attention with him. And then the only one that was probably true to his word was Bernie, and I wanted him, but you guys threw him out.
Well, you're not helping. I don't think this is helping your argument that you're like, I really liked Bernie and then I went to Trump. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if that
wanted
helps.
somebody that was gonna-
I don't know if that
somebody
adds
was
credibility,
advocating-
I
Drew.
loved Bernie, so then I elected a lying billionaire.
I was looking for somebody that was going to clean up Washington, and I think Bernie would have done that.
Well, look, in all fairness, Trump has got a lot of people in Washington sent to jail. So in a way, he
See,
has
there you
cleaned
go. I
things
mean,
up.
Maybe it's inadvertent, but it's still happening.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. Anyways, why aren't you down there, Drew? You could go meet these
Get outta
people.
here. Come on,
Drew,
I'm not a crazy. I'm
Drew,
a little crazy, but not that crazy.
Can you please go down there and send us a video? Please.
It's
Well,
like 40 miles away. I can't be bothered. You know,
Yeah,
I'm too. I devote so much time to this that I shouldn't be.
Is it really 40 miles away?
It's 40 miles away from where I am. Yeah,
He's in Long Island.
I'm on Long Island.
I don't know how far away Long Island
Well,
is
this
from
is the
Manhattan, so I
southern
don't
tip
know.
of Manhattan, so it's far.
Yeah, it's.
I mean,
far,
it's
and
far,
annoying.
like,
Traffic
in
is
New
annoying.
York standards. Like, nothing is that far. Like, 40 miles in another city is nothing. But in New York, it's like 4 blocks, and you're like, I can't go.
How
Yeah,
long would
I mean,
it take you to
literally
get
take me
there?
2 hours. It would take me 2 hours to get there.
All right, we'll do it, dude. Stop being lazy. Get down there.
Get the hell out of here. So I had an interesting thing. I don't want to bring up the content of it because I don't want to trigger anybody. But I was in a different live and I was being accused of certain things.
Yeah,
What
I know
was
about
it?
this, Drew. I
I want to
about it.
know, can
Go
someone
ahead, Drew.
tell me
I
in a
just
way that-
found out about it while we've been on this live. So go ahead, Drew.
Apparently,
No one
I
tells
go
me
on your
anything.
lives and talk about the E. Jean Carroll case obsessively. Is there any truth to that whatsoever?
No.
We've definitely talked about it,
like
but
2 times.
like not lately.
I think 2
Yeah.
times, because I remember, because it triggers me a little bit. I think 2 times, but like you've been a good sport about it, and like I feel like it was healthy conversation.
Always healthy, right? You know, and usually it's like a whataboutism with Tara Reid or whatever. I don't even want to get into it because it's not that important to me. You know.
That's dumb. And
but
it's dumb.
it was just like you go on RTP and that's what you do obsessively. What are you talking about? Obviously you don't know.
Yeah, if you're still comparing E.Jean Carroll to Tara Reid, like, yeah, I think you deserve all the criticism. I think you're better. I think you should be better than that. If you can't see the miles of daylight between these two, like, a person accused Joe Biden of something that nobody backs up, and then they ran away, and they have never nobody's brought litigation. It hasn't been adjudicated, and one has been adjudicated, and one person, and they've lost twice on that already, and we've probably got another lawsuit incoming on that. Like, there's a vast difference between an accusation. There's a vast difference between an accusation and an adjudicated verdict.
Well, look, I'm a pretty good reader of bullshit. Well, all right, I know what you're gonna say.
No, you're not.
No,
Are
you're
you
actually
joking?
bad.
You
Yeah, you're
got
bad.
got by the worst liar on earth.
But first, no. I am one of the few that admit that Trump is full of shit. I admit that, you know, with his cases that he did those things, but I just sugarcoat it like, it's not that big of a deal. Most people probably do it, but I never say that he's not guilty. I never say that he doesn't say crazy things. I'm not in like La La Land like these people.
Yeah, but you also bring up Tara Reid when E.Jean Carroll is mentioned, and that does put you in La La Land. Like, you have to be unwilling to see reality to draw any comparison between the two. Outside of the accusation, everything else is different, right? And I don't have a problem with Tara Reid. If this really happened and Tara Reid wants to adjudicate it, that's fine. Like, if we can get some evidence that it happened, great. Like, let's support it. But the only reason any of you guys know about Tara Reid is because Donald Trump got accused multiple times, and they needed to bring up something that makes it look like, oh, everybody does this. So they got a pretty discredited person who lives in Russia and is paid by Republicans, like, as their counter argument to a guy who credibly has been accused and adjudicated that, like, yeah, he does abuse women. So do you understand why somebody, especially if they have a connection to E.Jean Carroll, might be like, what the fuck, man? You don't know what you're talking about. Stop doing that.
Yeah, but and then the other argument is that I'll ever bring up is that libel is more than 50% likely, and that's all I say. That's all I say. Because you're not allowed to talk about it.
What do you mean? What do you think libel is, Drew?
More than
Libel is
50%
written. Libel's written slander. Are you using the wrong? You're talking about liability.
No, if you're found liable,
because he's found guilty of libel
in a civil case.
Hey, liable. You know, libel is a different word. You're saying the different word. Libel is written slander.
I'm blaming my
liability is what you're trying to say.
Liable.
Okay, I just want to make sure I know what you're talking about. I just want to say this though, like, as far as what we're talking about with the Tara Reid thing, this is really the issue. When someone what Joe Biden said was Tara Reid should be heard, right? Like, and if there's a case, you know, fine, like, investigate it, whatever. Like, that's what he said. And she ran to Russia, like, and she told a different story many times. But I'm just saying, like, that's the difference. Is Joe Biden literally said, you know, due process, look into it. Everyone deserves to be heard, right? Like,
okay, I just
if she wants to bring a credible accusation, then she has every right to bring it. She's in Russia.
Is she in Russia?
Yeah.
What? You don't know that she lives with Putin? What are you talking about? She is in Russia.
So then, when did Tucker do his interview? When he was in Russia? He just recently did an interview with her.
Yeah, probably when it was probably in Russia. Yeah, I mean, she can come back, but she's ran.
Like, when he posts his interview is not necessarily when
that's
they're
what
recording.
I'm saying. So maybe
is she back? I don't know. I don't know if Tara Reid came back to the U.S. I know she.
I thought it was at his house where he does his.
But Drew, let's even do this. Like, Reid's accusations. Do you know what she even accused Joe Biden of doing?
It was like sexual harassment. I know.
Yeah, putting his hand on her shoulder and his finger on her neck. Do you think that there is
No, it doesn't.
miles
There's
of
no
well,
comparison.
hold
There's
on.
no
But yeah,
comparison.
so then why do you keep
I
so
do it
this is
for
the
the sake
problem.
of
When
argument.
we're talking about a victim, Drew, this is I'm trying to help you, I swear to God. When
Yeah,
we're
I know.
talking about a victim and you bring up Tara Reid, it's because you're like trying to draw an equivalency and there is none there. This is something you should drop forever. And until there's a credible accusation against Joe Biden, you should drop that because what it makes it look like is that you don't really trust women either. You don't really think that they're victims. And so you use them as pawns for a political discussion. But even you admit that there's miles of difference between these two
There's
accusations.
miles of difference, absolutely.
Even if both of these
she sounded
accusations
credible.
were true, even if both were true and they were adjudicated in real time, Donald Trump would be in prison for a very long time. Joe Biden probably would have been fired.
Right.
Like they're not even the same crime.
I don't even
They're
want
not
to have
even
this
close.
discussion. I just wanted to clear up that I don't have this discussion. And what are we doing? We're having this discussion.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I would. The few times that I brought it up, it was usually on liability.
She's seeking. She applied for asylum in Russia and is seeking citizenship. So, just to be clear.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, aside from that, I don't even want to talk about that. Honestly, I really don't, because it's a trigger issue, and
you should take that advice the rest of your life.
now
No
the,
more
the
talking about
argument
this.
that I
Drew.
was having in the other live was that some things I don't like about the left is that you just can't have conversations about things if they're a trigger issue. You just can't, you can't break down a case. Any other case you could break down, but you can't break down that one. When it comes to the vaccines, you really can't even discuss it because you're just instantly an anti-vaxxer. It was just the point that there's certain trigger things that are just taboo to even just bring up on the left.
Like what?
That's all I'm talking about. That's all I was talking about.
Like what?
we discuss the E. Jean Carroll case all the time. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence in that case. If you want to discuss the indictment, let's discuss it.
I'm talking about here on lives. You start to bring up anything about the case,
but what?
You break
'Cause,
down
like-
any other case. I like to
you
break
might-
down cases. This is
Because
what
Drew,
we
you
usually
might
talk
be
about.
right. Maybe you have some instances where that's happened or something that we have a blind spot on the left. But the only example you've given us so far was something that you had a blind spot on. So is it possible, Drew, that the reason you can't get people to acknowledge some of the stuff you're saying is because it's either not true or it's not equivalent?
Well, it's really not even my conversation. It's usually when I'm a spectator in other lives. And if that case comes up within 3 seconds, I mean, the attacks are like
Drew, if your daughter was essayed by Trump
Of
and then
course, of
everybody was
course.
on the,
I'm-
so
I'm
can
just
you
saying you
understand how
can't have-
Amber might be upset? I
There's-
don't know.
there's
Again,
certain-
I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know if
It's not
this
even about
is
her. It's not about
Amber,
her.
but I'm saying, like, if someone's family member was being
Yeah.
slandered, can you see how that would be triggering? That's not the left. That's someone's family
No,
member.
no. But it's
You're
not just,
saying
I'm saying that
you're
comes
saying
up
that
regardless.
Tara Reid is comparable to being essayed in a dressing room. She said someone that he touched her neck with a finger.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, and it has nothing to do with that girl that I just recently saw in lives that I happen to be in. She said I was following her around, which is insane. I'm addicted to these lives.
Okay.
I'm just saying that regardless, despite of not her, just whenever that comes up, it doesn't have to be her. It's just instantly the go-to is just attack the fact that you can't discuss that. And I'm just, and it's not even that. It's also
Drew,
anything
what
actually, I
can't we
don't wanna
discuss?
bring- I
Wait,
don't
hold
wanna
on.
keep it E.G.
Hold on.
Carroll.
Let me, Drew, what are you talking about? What can't we discuss?
All right, if you're on a live and there's a guest, not me, another guest that brings up the case,
Yeah.
instantly, if it's a left live, 5 people get put into the box and they fucking berate the person and make them feel like complete shit for even discussing the case whatsoever and even bringing it up in any way, shape, or form. And that's just my observation of it. Whether or not you guys agree with me, maybe go on some other lives and see what happens when that
no,
name pops up.
I know that piling on happens, and like I have a problem with that just like personally. That's why you don't see me on panels
No, you
very
guys-
often.
Yeah,
but the thing is it's like if everybody was discussing a murder charge, right? And you're like, well, hold on, the victim got a speeding ticket. Are we not going to discuss that? No, we're not going to discuss that because it's fucking irrelevant. And the fact that Donald Trump did all these things, nothing about Tara Reid is relevant in that case. Nothing. So
But I'm
I
not even
think what you're
talking
getting
Tara
there
Reid. I'm not
when
even
you
talking
say
about
it's
Tara Reid.
like when you say you shouldn't bring it up. Well, this is the only example you've given me, so you can give me a different one. But in this case, if you bring up Tara Reid when we're talking about what Trump did, yeah, you deserve that. You deserve people to be like, shut the fuck up, Drew.
Right,
Like
so
these
that-
aren't
right.
the same thing.
But let me tell you what happens. All right, I'll break it down very, very simply, and you guys have to agree if you guys are going to be honest. 'cause
Tap
you've
the
been in enough-
screen while Drew enlightens
You've been in
us.
enough lives to know this. All right. So something will go a certain way, and maybe the host will start to get bored with the person that's up, the opposition, right? And then they'll try to lead them into the E. Jean conversation, right? And then once that person will say anything, 1 second, in 1 second, there's 5 people up there fucking attacking the shit out of the person where he has to go and leave in shame.
Well, look, don't
That
take
happens. Come
yeah,
on.
wait,
Just
yeah,
admit
but
that
Drew,
it
but I think what you're describing
happens.
here.
Look at your little smirk.
No,
I know
listen,
you know
listen,
that.
listen. I know what you're saying, but I
You
think
sound like
what
you have PTSD.
what you're
because of what happened to
describing
you,
right
Drew.
now
That's
is
like-
you either witnessing either you or you witnessing others take the bait. The reason that gets brought up, Drew, is because we can't figure out, well, we know we can figure it out, but we want it on the record. When I talk to somebody who's going to say something like that, I want them on the record to acknowledge that what Donald Trump did. And then I want them to justify why you would support that. As a father with a daughter, like, no one will ever get my support in any election who has abused women ever. That will never ever happen. That's my line. So I'm just asking Republicans, why don't you have that same line? That seems like the easiest line to draw in the history of the world. And yet MAGA Republicans will be like, what, Tara Reid? Well, even if Tara Reid was true, you're still voting for that guy. Like, that's what we want to know. How the fuck is that not
I
disqualifying?
don't support SA or grape in any way, shape,
But
or
Matt,
form.
but the Republicans do.
Right.
Because this is their
Well,
candidate.
they justify. They try to
They're
justify.
the Christians. Like, do you see why we can't
Yeah,
understand?
I can't stand. Look. Like I said the other day, that you guys all happen to started to like me again. Is
I
my
always liked
biggest
you.
my biggest
I
problem.
always liked you too.
My biggest problem with voting for Trump now, and it became clear to me. Sometimes you got to hear something 1,000 times before it clicks, right? It just happens. You know, it's happened in my life quite a
To
bit.
men. It happens to men.
All right. Well, yeah, women are better than us. I know that. Smarter and better, bigger brains.
Right. You're getting better at this.
But the fact that these far right extreme jurists are going, getting put into place there is something that I can't go with, because that's not my view.
Yeah, but
This
Drew,
far-right shit.
I guess
I
like
can't take.
I appreciate that, Drew, and I'm glad that you found a line. I just want to know why sexually assaulting a woman wasn't your line. Why are the judges your line? Why wasn't Donald Trump abusing women your line?
See, I can't argue this case. I can't argue this. I'll try. All right. If you guys give me the benefit of the doubt and don't attack me,
Well,
I'll explain.
let me just ask this, Drew. Were you in the courtroom?
No.
Do you think you know all the details better than the jury?
No.
So then why the fuck do I care what your assessment of this court case is? The jury and the judge found that he was liable. Like, if you are then going to say that the jury and the judge got it wrong, you better have a strong fucking case outside of, well, I don't know, people lie. Because anything outside of you making a credible counter case is just you justifying what he did.
No, it's not. Look,
it is,
there's
because what
plenty
you're
of
doing is
cases-
you're saying, like, well, I understand people still supporting him because they're iffy on this, or they don't believe they don't believe E. Jean, or they don't believe the judge. And I'm just saying, like, if any person that I ever have the opportunity to vote for is an adjudicated abuser, I will not vote for that person. You have my word on this. I don't know why that's a stretch for Republicans.
So now let me tell you something, and I'm going to give you guys a bone here. Now, if it was exactly opposite, and this was Biden, and it was E. Jean and Biden, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would be just as strong in my convictions in that case against Biden.
And
that's
I would
something- That's
too.
human nature. There's a truth in that. There's a truth in
that's
that.
that's disconcerting, because what
Right,
you're
it's
saying
the
is it sounds like
patriarchy.
you're just saying I
Women
don't
are
believe women.
discredited regardless of the man's political
No, you're
affiliation. You
misinterpreting what I'm
guys
saying.
discredit women.
No,
Yeah.
you're misinterpreting what I'm saying.
Drew,
What I'm
maybe
saying
is it
is,
possible you're
I would
misinterpreting your own
agree that
feelings?
Biden was guilty if it was the other way around. 100%. I wouldn't even question it. I would say he's liable. How could you do this and everything else because of my political affiliations? And that's what I think a lot of people do. To say that that doesn't happen, that you don't see things
Okay,
in a biased way from your side.
But Drew, name the other politician that's been adjudicated to be an
But that's not the point I'm
abuser?
trying to
No. It does matter. It fucking does matter, because these are hypotheticals, and Donald
I'm
Trump being
talking
an
in a hypothetical
adjudicated
way.
rapist is not up for debate. It happened. The judge and the jury said, yes, he did this. Whether you think he's innocent or not, I don't understand why somebody's line isn't, if somebody's adjudicated a rapist, I will not vote for them. Why is that a line that Republicans are willing to cross?
No. My argument is the psychology of your political biases in cases like this. That if it was flipped around,
look at Barney Frank. What happened to Barney Frank?
Barney
Frank was accused of sexually harassing women, just saying inappropriate things, and all the Democrats were basically like, "Get out!" And he resigned like 2 days later. Look at what happened.
It's not okay to be harassing women on one side of the aisle. Do you understand that?
No, I do.
It's also not okay in corporate situation. Like, you're saying that we only think Trump is an adjudicated rapist because he's a Republican?
No, I'm saying that there's bias. There's
no,
always a
there's
bias.
not.
No. That's the thing. If you're going to say there's a bias, Drew, then you have to explain what they got wrong in the court case. In order for you to convince anybody that there is some bias, you have to be able to explain what the bias is and where it came into play. And I don't think you can do that.
I'm not. Let's forget about E. Jean Carroll. It's a bad example because it's too triggering.
But it's a good example because Republican. No, I want to stay on this because it's a great example.
Because you're winning.
Exactly. And I want other Republicans to hear this and say, like, yeah, why am I okay not crossing this line? And it should be a winning issue. You're right about that. Americans should agree that people shouldn't abuse others. And if somebody's an adjudicated abuser, we don't vote for them. That should be the easiest thing for our country to agree on. And unfortunately, we might vote in a guy who's a serial abuser. What does that tell you about our country, and specifically Christian conservatives? They don't give a shit about women. Not a single solitary shit. They would rather bring Donald Trump back into office than just like take care of women.
Right. Now
Wait,
to pivot.
I just want to give an example. When he was adjudicated a rapist, like, the Republican Party had a choice. Like, that was a crossroads right there to say, we've got to break with this guy. Like, this doesn't align with our values. Or there was option B, and that was, what can we do to mitigate this? And what they decided to do was try to smear Biden, right? And they do this in several different ways, but they said, if we have an adjudicated rapist as a candidate, we need to smear their candidate. We need to make him look like one to mitigate the issues we have with ours. If everybody's been accused of sexual assault. So do you see how damaging that is to women? The Republicans, instead of just saying, hey, we can just choose another candidate. This guy, it's not just the SA, right? This guy has committed crime after crime after crime. At any moment, they could have tossed him out and said, let's choose another person. But instead, what they've done now is all of these lies, right? All of the Biden crime family, all of that is to mitigate the problems with their own candidate. Instead of just finding someone who is not a criminal, now we have to paint everyone on the left as a criminal to mitigate the issues with our candidate. That was the solution.
Look, I don't buy into arguing
my point is, it just further devalues women. Women are now we're believed less.
I'm not even saying that. That's not what I'm saying. It's when I try to talk about this stuff, and I hate that E. Jean Carroll is the case that we go to, because I didn't want to go there. It happens everywhere. Look, That's all they do is talk about Biden's follies when he's on the podium. So what do the Democrats do? They'll show the bits and pieces of Trump doing the same thing. This is a back and forth. It's a political strategy that's done constantly.
Yeah, but in this case, it's not about political strategy. It's about something that really happened. That's what I don't get. What you're like? Do we know that people play politics? Yes. What we're saying is this isn't politics. Like the Republicans are playing politics because their guy got, right? He got caught, and now they have to figure out a way to justify it. And they can't come out and be like, hey, everybody's a liar, or like, we don't care about this. Those are their options. So instead, what do? They muddy the waters. They accuse Democrats of it. That's why you always hear people talking about, well, we got to protect the children, and these Democrats are demons. They're going to abuse children. Well, where does most of that abuse of women and children take place?
Church.
Yeah, Christian conservative homes mostly.
Yeah, and I'm not a Christian or a conservative.
Yeah, so this isn't a political issue. This is people
I grew up
being
Catholic,
exposed
and
that they
I
don't
totally
actually
got rid of
care about abuse, and then they play politics. But this isn't two sides playing politics. In this instance, the Democrats are just simply telling the truth, and the Republicans are playing politics.
When I was a teenager, it came out like a lot of the Catholic Church stuff came out into the open, and there was no way I could go to church and just let that go. You know, there was no way. There was no way. You know, I don't know how people did it.
Well, what do you think about the people who did, Drew?
I think they're fucked up. I can't even fathom how they could. I don't.
So now you understand why we're looking at MAGA talking about the exact same thing, abuse. And they're all still voting for him. And you understand now why we're like, okay, maybe they're fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're feeling, True. Like, I don't think you would have this level of patience of both sidesism if you were talking with a Catholic and they were trying to justify the actions or put a blanket over the actions of the Catholic Church, right? You'd be like, nah, shut up. You don't get to say that. You don't get to sugarcoat this now. We all know what happened. There's no excuse for it. Same thing with Donald Trump. But MAGA's making a lot of excuses for it.
MAGA's the congregation. Donald Trump's the priest. Like, do you see how this is the exact same situation?
Maybe.
And you know who's damaged by all this? Women. Women are devalued, dehumanized, and not believed.
Maybe.
There's the same level of evidence for the victims of the Catholic Church. It's not like there's physical evidence for all of these crimes. These are just multiple people coming forward and sharing their stories. Again, multiple women have come forward and said that they were abused by Donald Trump, including his ex-wife. Like, multiple people have.
Yeah, I know.
So what's the difference?
Look, maybe, and I'm gonna concede to this. Maybe I just got caught up in right-wing propaganda that justified things and had an answer for everything. With his wife, his ex-wife, she ended up being his best friend, wrote great things about him, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm telling you the talking points. I'm telling you that maybe I got sucked into these talking points. I'm conceding that maybe I got blinded by, because I wanted to believe it, you know? Maybe with the E. Jean Carroll thing, there was enough things that they said on the right side that gave me a reason to believe that maybe it wasn't true. And maybe it was all bullshit. And maybe I got sucked into it.
Yeah, and what do you think that message is to...
Very likely that is the case, because...
Yeah, and that's the message it sends to women from Republicans, is like, hey, if we're ever abused by somebody that's powerful, the Republicans sure as shit aren't going to help us, unless it's like a powerful Democrat.
Right. So, all right, so I'm conceding that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe, you know, you want to believe, and if you hear the things that you want to hear... You know, if you have a certain bias towards somebody, you're gonna want to believe it. It's almost like a mother with their kid, you know, that does no wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, it might be the same type of psychology. Like,
and it's the patriarchy, right? Because think about it. Like, if it's true for him, it could also be true for many other men. You guys are also complicit. I mean, I'm not saying complicit is an act, but it is. That's what it is. It's like you put yourself in his shoes. Well, he's famous, and women probably want to have sex with him, and like, what does that say about me? Like, if he can be accused, someone could accuse me, right? Like, it's all of these things, like serve to protect
I understand
men.
what you mean when it comes to this issue, particularly with women, how destructive it can be. But I was painting with a broad brush that it happens a lot with politics, where if people hear what they want to hear from their side, they're going to cling to that maybe and just buy into it because they want to, almost like the mother of the kid, the bad kid that does no wrong. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying maybe, and maybe that's what I bought myself. That's what a lot of people on both sides would probably buy into.
Well, and think about it this way, Drew, when it comes to SA, and not just SA, but just abuse in general, like, just understand that, like, most abuse is familial or abusers
Yeah.
are someone known to a woman, right?
Someone that's trusted.
And
by
I'm
them.
not speaking about sexual abuse now. I'm just speaking about other like physical abuse. But like my two biggest abusers are the two people I love most on earth, still to this
Yeah.
day. Like, so just understand that like the argument that someone who abused you, you can't still be friends with or love. Well, how does that explain my family?
Right.
Do you know
right.
what I mean?
Okay,
Yeah, I
you were
do.
talking
I
about
do.
me.
And you know what? And thank God I was lucky in life where I didn't have that effect. You know, where because maybe I would understand better. Not that I wouldn't understand. I understand now. I don't want. I want to retract what I just said. I understand
Just
now.
understand, like when a husband, a
Well,
wife
when it
is
hits
hit
close
by
to the
her
home,
husband, or at SA, you know what I mean? That love still exists. Like
yeah,
you do, you love this person. You can't fathom how they do. You
that's why it
want
goes
to
on for
forget
so
them.
long. Right?
Any place you can go in your mind to justify what has happened and explain it away, you will go there. You will act normal. Just the lengths that your brain will go to protect you from acknowledging what has happened to you would shock you.
Right.
I'm fighting my way out of it still.
I bet. I bet. I have things in the past. I talk enough about my personal life. I don't have that, but I have other things, and I get it. I totally get it. I could relate to it in not as graphic of a way, but pretty graphic to most people. So I get it, and you justify, and because you have like this bond or connection that you just don't want to see the bad in the person. You make excuses for them.
Oftentimes,
Also, because
recognizing the
Drew,
bad
no
in
one's
somebody.
all good or all bad, right?
Right.
Like that's the reality, and people don't like when I say this, but that is the truth, like right. And
Right.
I also can acknowledge that my abusers, I know I know where my dad has been. Like the things that have happened to him, I can't fathom. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for everything I went through, like his is 1,000 times worse. You know what I mean? You don't become an abuser just for no reason. It doesn't happen out of
I did the
anywhere.
same thing. I would. That's why I think that's what we do. I would look at, well, where did they come from? What happened to them? And justify their actions based on their experience.
Donald Trump lived through a nightmare. Like, please understand that man did not end up like this for no
Right.
reason.
For
Like,
no
you
reason.
don't become a narcissist out of nowhere. It's literally your brain becoming a funhouse mirror where you believe I'm the best, no one can hurt me again. And you're living in a delusion because your life was such a living hell
Narcissistic
that you
personality
had to
disorder.
literally go into a fantasy world, and not just temporarily, forever,
Yeah.
to
Well,
combat
that's when
the
it becomes a
hell that
disorder,
you were
right?
in.
I mean, that's when it becomes a disorder. When it becomes
Yeah,
it
exactly. He
becomes
has
so
a he has
habitual
a
that it becomes
disordered
disorder.
brain. Like, but that's the point. Is like at some point, right? Victims become abusers, and we all have a choice, right? Like,
Right.
do I continue hurting people? Like, I could very well be hurting people right now. Trust me.
Right.
I could be, but I have to make a choice, right? Like, we all have a choice, and he made the wrong one.
Right. And you know what's funny? It's how people digest what it is. Like now I would never do that, because you either go the whole opposite or you don't, or you go the whole that way. And that's just your personal makeup. I don't even know if there's a way to quantify the way you're going to go with that, because you could have 3 people in your family with the same stuff, and stop it, please.
Yeah, and everyone turns out
Everybody turns out differently.
Yes,
and-
it's
and
fascinating.
digest
I
it
agree.
differently. So
It's all just survival mechanisms, right? Like
Right,
even
exactly. And
abusers, that's a survival mechanism. Like you have a choice. Like, okay, I was victimized. I'm never going to be victimized again. And the way I'll make sure is I'm the victimizer now. I'm in the position of power. Never again will I be on the bottom.
Right. See, I go back to the pain I felt, and it would break my heart to do that. So that's That's just the way, you know what I mean? That's just where my brain goes. So and the result is, not doing that because, I don't want to pass that along, you know?
Well, you do owe police for this therapy session, so
Actually,
this is
you
what
look
I
funny.
do.
but not
I'm a
near.
therapist.
Listen, I owe
missed
her
my
way more
therapy
than
session
you.
today because it was
I'm
we were
Jay's
off.
therapist too. Maybe I'll just start doing separate lives where I fix men. No, it's I relate a lot. I tell Jay all this all the time. Like a lot of my friends are white males because they're so damaged. I was raised in the patriarchy. Like I was a boy. You know what I mean? Like I was very like I was and all that damage that comes from the patriarchy where you aren't allowed to show emotions. It becomes all about leverage and like that's how I was raised. So I very much understand it. I just literally it took me almost like dying in
Right.
order, and then my brain changed and I woke up. Like I,
And I wouldn't say it's a more difficult thing. I think it's equally difficult with men because of that factor.
yeah, because you're
That you
not
can't
allowed.
fully
You're
feel.
damaged to the point you're not allowed to show emotion. You
Right.
never if you never learn how to regulate your emotions, like
Right.
women are able to process emotions in a more healthy way, which the patriarchy considers weakness. And the true strength in this world, as we know from Brene Brown, is vulnerability, the
Right.
ability to be open and say, I see myself in you, like that's true power. And that's what women do so well, and why like women are, I think, able to deal with hardship in a way more healthy way than men, because men are isolated and alone. They're not able to be vulnerable and like reach each other.
Don't you think that we'd get a lot further if most debates went this way, as opposed to yelling and screaming RTP?
Yeah, yeah.
Look.
It's more entertaining. Don't get me wrong, and I get it because I like to
No,
argue
no.
too.
Wait, hold on though. Like the only reason debates don't go that way here is when somebody shows up. Like if you can say anything about me that is universally true, it's
I
that I
busted.
match. It's that I match energies, right?
Yeah,
And
no, I'm totally about that was a
yeah,
total ball
but
busting thing.
but I do to your point. Like debates used to be better. The reason they're not is because one party specifically believes in a bunch of things that aren't even remotely true. They are living in a alternate reality and they're asking us to come join them in a reality that does not exist. That's the problem we have, Drew, because you guys picked a serial liar, a narcissist who will never admit to lying, will never admit to duping any of you, and he's running the show. Until he's gone, get used to it. Get used to being yelled at, because everything you're being told, almost everything you're told by right-wing media, is an actual lie. That's the problem that we have here. We can't even get to, hey, should we talk about supply side economics and the issues that we have there? No. What do we have to talk about? We have to talk about whether or not Hillary Clinton is a lizard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be more beneficial if we could all get on. Look, every issue is important, and what I think happens in politics, and it's a strategy. They find the most divisive issues.
Hold on one
separate.
second, Drew. Thanks, Doug Raid. We appreciate it so much. Sorry, I saw you guys come in, and I just want to make sure we acknowledge it and thank you guys for being here. Love, Dougie.
But I think intentionally we find the most divisive issues to keep everybody in their rightful right-left thing. I think it, and I'm not saying
Don't agree with that.
these
I think
issues
I
aren't
think that's a cop out,
important.
Doug. Or Doug Drew, sorry.
Doug.
I think it's a cop out. Honest
Tap the
honest to God,
screen.
I've been in politics
don't.
long enough. I think that's bullshit. And I think it's lazy.
No.
We divide ourselves about the things that we care most about, right? So currently, what are our big divides about? One of our big divides is about, like, hey, should Christians be allowed to tell everybody else who they can have sex with and how they can identify? Like, that's
No,
not a
those-
that
like I'm saying-
wasn't by design. It's not like the left is like, hey, what are we gonna do? Let's roll out a brigade of trans people just to fuck with the Republicans. No, that's not what happens. There's not
Yeah,
a single
I don't-
issue
I
that
don't
we're
agree with
arguing
that.
about in this country right now that was like put there by these two evil sides who are just trying to keep us divided. You know who's trying to keep us divided? foreign
people that
and
are fleecing
foreign
us are trying to
entities
keep us
like
divided.
Russia, and they're basically running Trump's campaign. They're basically running the whole goddamn thing.
No, the
That
people that
is
are
what
fleecing
happened. That's
fleecing
what's
us are
happening
trying
in
to
this
keep us
country.
divided.
What's that?
The people that are fleecing
Someone
us are
said
trying to
check
keep us divided.
messages. Check the cash
I
app.
I see him. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Look, here's a good argument. All right, I think. So Republicans don't want to get all these social services because they don't want to be taxed more, right? That's the big thing. It's
But
more
that's
about
a lie. That's not true.
Okay. I'm just saying that's what they believe, and they
No,
think
they
it's
don't.
a terrible thing.
No, none of them believe that.
They
That's
believe they
not
don't want to
true.
be taxed.
No, listen, if a single one of them believed any of that, they would fucking cut spending.
I'm talking about individuals. I'm not talking about the people in power.
They
I'm
don't
talking about
care,
the
or they'd
individuals.
stop voting for these same people. No, I'm telling you, we're finding out right now with Israel and Palestine, there are lines people will not cross for voting, and it's causing a headache for Democrats. It's a real problem. But nothing that the right says they stand for is true. None of it. They're not anti-war. They're going to war all the time. They're not fiscally responsible. They spend and they cut taxes. They're not free market capitalists because they allow and they advocate for all these billionaires to have no regulations that completely fucks up the free market. They don't want legal immigration. Everything that's happening at the southern border right now is legal immigration. They're just all liars. And if they're not liars, then they don't know what they believe. I think what it is they
I
think
agree
that
with you. I'm talking
they
about the
think
I'm talking
that
about
Republicans
the
and
voters.
Jesus are the same thing, and so they just believe it wholeheartedly.
You're making my point for me. I'm saying the voters believe that the right rhetoric will say, "Do you want
Because
to be
they're
taxed?"
lied
All this and
to
that.
by
I agree.
they're
I'm
lied
agreeing
to
with
by
you.
the people they're voting for. Yeah,
Let me-
that's
let
a
me finish.
lie that the Republican Party tells.
Agreed. But if we all focused on crony capitalism, getting money out of politics, and that was our laser focus, not a single Republican would have a problem with universal health care if it wasn't
Are
being
you
taxed.
joking around?
That is what our
We-
fucking platform is. Our fucking platform is end crony capitalism. Stop it. No more crony capitalism.
know.
And
But
you
that's what
guys
should
are the
be
ones
the
that are
main
fighting
focus.
against it. What are you talking about? This is what we're begging for, and Republicans keep telling us
The
no.
Republicans
They will
brought-
not get on board. They
I'm
won't.
agreeing with you on this. I'm
I
saying
know,
the message
no,
is
you just
fucked.
said if we all talked about crony capitalism, no Republicans would disagree. We're talking about it. Republicans disagree. The reality of right now is Republicans do not agree with that.
They don't agree with that, or I find that hard to believe.
Well, then
Who
what are
wants
they doing
corruption?
about it?
Who wants corruption?
Republicans.
And corruption happens on both sides. They're both getting money from all these
Let's
giant.
not play-
No,
let's not play
listen.
both
You
sides,
know what? There was like a billionaire conference. Warren Buffett was saying. Warren Buffett is basically saying if every billionaire paid the tax rate I pay, 21%, then nobody would have to pay taxes in the middle class or lower. No one at
Right.
all. If the billionaires would
I'm with
just
you.
pay 21% of taxes, but none of them pay anything. And again, those same billionaires
Look,
who don't
Republicans
want,
making
hold on, those same
$150,000 a
billionaires
year
who
think
don't
they're
want to
rich.
pay corporate
They're
taxes,
idiots.
they don't want to be taxed like the middle class's tax. Those same people brought money into politics, right? And they're now controlling the federal government through lobbying.
And
All
Trump is
of that
promising
has
to cut their
happened
taxes.
because of the Republican Party, Drew.
You don't think the left is complicit in it?
No, we are, but like we're advocating change. You guys are advocating more of the shit that fucked us up. Like
The
Donald
people
Trump is
advocate change, but
Donald
the-
Trump is
but the-
telling billionaires he's going to cut their taxes. I saw, and you've probably seen it too, but there's a clip going around from Warren Buffett saying that he wrote a check, I think for like I don't remember how many $1 billion he had to write for taxes, and he said there's basically like 800 of us that could pay a bill like that because of our companies. If we all paid the correct amount of taxes, nobody else would have had to pay taxes.
I just said that.
I know. I was just saying that. I
Oh,
was just giving the
literally
quote. Yeah.
just said that.
I was just giving the quote from Warren
Yeah,
Buffett.
she just said that.
Yeah, no,
That
I
was
know.
that was your patriarchy.
No, I was giving the quote from Warren
Just kidding,
Buffett.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I thought
No,
maybe
I
you
know.
would listen.
I
Quoted
agree with
Warren
all that.
Buffett.
do.
I said it.
Oh, I didn't hear you say
How many
I
Warren
times
Buffett.
do I have to
literally
go
Sorry.
through
just
my
quoted
political-
Warren Buffett out loud. It's like
Sorry.
I'm not
Sorry.
here.
Sorry.
Men don't
Oh,
listen.
stop it.
You
Don't
gotta
play
learn
that
to
with
listen.
me. Like I've missed one
You
word.
need to learn to listen on TV.
Yeah, I guess so. I apologize, please.
My daughter just called, and I don't know what she called for, so I have to get down. You heard me?
Yeah, I said, all right, brother, be well.
All right, take care. Bye.
See ya. There was Clint. Clint was waiting. Hey, Clint. Hey, Clint.
Good afternoon. How are y'all?
Good man. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic. Man, it's a very rainy day. It's like got some crazy climate change going on here in North Texas. The rain is coming down hard.
We live in Arizona. It's just always sunny and a million degrees.
Hey, appreciate the conversation this morning. You guys or this afternoon. You guys are doing a great job moderating and having a good, healthy conversation without name calling and all kinds of toxicity. It's good to hear.
We're on our best behavior today.
I love it. I love it.
What's up?
Even when talking about difficult things. I am a fiscal conservative. I'm a unicorn, I think, at this point in the country. I don't know anyone else who's on board with the things that I like to talk about, but that's okay. We can talk about other things. I did want to just throw out something. You guys, I've heard many people on left-leaning lives talk about this Warren Buffett quote, and I just wanted to offer just a little clarification. Warren Buffett was speaking about taxes paid by Berkshire Hathaway, not by him personally.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was clear about that. This isn't that Warren Buffett wrote a check personally, because Warren Buffett did what a former Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court said, which is he orders his affairs in such a way as to pay the minimum amount of tax personally.
Yeah,
And he
I
does.
think everybody does that.
Of course, and there's no obligation to order your affairs as a business person or as an individual in such a way as to pay more tax.
Right, but I think the overall point is that like billionaires are being like these corporate taxes are lower than what you or I would pay.
I
Right?
know,
That's the real problem, and we have wealth inequality at an all-time high.
I totally agree. But this is the crux of the issue. The crux of the issue is that these companies are legally bound by the law to do everything that they can do to be as profitable as possible for the shareholders.
Yeah.
Paying more in taxes decreases the profits for the shareholders.
Good. Change the laws. I don't give a shit about shareholders.
Agree.
I could care less.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But I'm saying that, so we have to change the laws. We can't. I would say it would be an uninformed view to just point fingers at Facebook, Google, Amazon, and so on, and say they pay no taxes. It's wrong.
I was actually pointing the finger
Why
at
are
Republicans.
you naming social media companies? That's
I was just
not what
pointing
we
at
were talking
Republicans.
about.
Okay, Apple. How about Apple? How about? I mean, there's tons of companies.
For some reason, you're focused on tech companies. I don't know. I'm just asking why. Berkshire Hathaway is like, why are you naming tech companies?
Berkshire Hathaway owns all different types of companies.
Yes, I understand that, but I'm saying, why are you naming tech companies?
I'm just naming giant-sized companies that pay very little in tax, that could pay a lot in tax.
Yeah, but that doesn't listen. How we incentivize corporations to do different things, right? Like how we regulate capitalism, right? That has nothing to do with their fiduciary duty to shareholders, right? That's on the government to incentivize the right behavior from corporations.
How about, okay, let's take the opposite side, and incentivize is one way. So there's the carrot, but there's also the stick, right? So we need to take away some of the carrots. We need to take away out of the tax code the things that they utilize to minimize their taxes through structuring. They're literally sending money offshore and doing
sure. Close tax loopholes, but also incentivize corporations to do the right thing. Yeah,
but here's the thing,
both
Felice,
things can be true.
They're not breaking the law. when they do break the law, trust me, the IRS
Nobody's
tries to
saying
go
that.
Listen,
after
Nobody's
them.
saying
you're
they are.
misunderstanding me. I never said anybody was breaking the law. I don't think finding tax loopholes. Yes, people have a duty to shareholders. Corporations are doing that. How we regulate that, what our tax code is, how we incentivize corporations to do the same thing is completely separate, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And
So
lobbying, right now, the capitalists, billionaires are their influence in the federal government has to do with influx of cash, lobbying, etc. That needs to
yes,
change.
so that there we are. That's where I wanted to get to. So what needs to happen? I would love to hear it from those that are leaning to the left. What needs to happen in order to minimize the impact of these people that have multi-millions, hundreds of millions, or billions of dollars upon our legislative process? Because they're literally buying votes. They're installing people into positions through campaign contributions. We would all agree it happens on both sides. So what do we do?
You raise the corporate tax. Raise the corporate tax rate. You start collecting on corporations. You close loopholes. You put in protections for workers. You give workers more control over their own production. You give a living wage. The problem isn't that people have a lot of money. The problem is that there's a lot of people who can't afford to live. That's the problem, right? Like unless we completely do away with businesses, there will always be people who have more money than others, and that's fine. Like some people will want to get more money, others won't. But the problem that we have is we're not taking care of the people who need it the most, and meanwhile we're looking around. I saw, I think, the same graph, like uh, Elon Musk's net worth went up from like 12 billion to like 144 billion. That's crazy, right? That's
Sure.
absolutely insane for one person to hold that much wealth. That
Well,
gives them unchecked power. So yeah,
I would,
I think there's a lot of things. I think first, on the internet, like, with all due respect to all these platforms, like, the creators have no real control over their content. They have no real ownership of their content. Their business can be taken from them at any moment because of these giants. There's a lot of things that we can do, but every bit of the regulation that we're asking for and taxes that we're asking for, Republicans will tell us no.
Elon Musk is getting a lot of help from the federal government.
Well,
Would
we
you
need to
agree?
yeah, oh, well, for
But wait,
sure.
hold
He's
on,
subsidized
wait.
by the federal government
But
in many ways, 100%.
but hold on. The point of all this, like, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face. But are there regulations? Are there tax increases that Republicans are going to go along with? No.
Again, but it has a lot to do with what? It has to do with campaign contributions
Yeah,
and so on.
Citizens United. So we need to, like, and there's a group, it's called like Overturning Citizens United, and they're working like on smaller, like in cities, state legislatures, to essentially advance resolutions and support for in the end a constitutional amendment, like, about to end Citizens United. Yeah, as long as it takes what now? Where are we at now? Like 2 billion to elect a president? We have a problem, right? That's got to change.
Big problem. I mean, and I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg, it was well publicized, the kind of money that he contributed to a wide variety of charities for the last election for ballot harvesting initiatives and so on. We're talking $350 million, which absolutely made a difference in states that matter. And
Yeah, but
so
let's talk about that though, Clint. Like, why are we talking about ballot harvesting like it's some sort of corruption? Getting more
Because the
people to
Republicans
vote
made
and
Clint
more
think
votes
that
counting?
people
Like,
vote. Only the Republicans think
great
people
thing.
voting is bad.
That's a
No,
great thing. That's not corruption.
no, I agree. But I'm saying that they obviously strategized very well. It cost him $350 million
To
to
get
do that.
people to vote is not bad. The only way the Republicans will ever win is by making sure people don't vote. Do you think that sounds weird in a democratic republic?
Well, I think
For a party's goal to be, let's limit the number of people that have access to the ballot?
I think what's going to happen, and I don't think that there's going to be any limitation for people voting. I think what's going to
You
happen
don't
is that
understand that voting rights laws are under attack, that
hang on.
gerrymanders going on, and that is all coming from one party.
So the left doesn't gerrymander. Is that what I'm
No,
understanding?
that's not. No, I'm not saying that. Don't go there. I'm not saying that.
Okay. Everyone does it, and it's wrong. Yes, we should set it and forget it. Right? Like stop playing with the lines. It's silly.
Okay,
So
but well, then what do we do about these conservative courts that keep telling us it's okay? What do we do about South Carolina when an obviously gerrymandered
Supreme
map
Court-
comes out and the Supreme Court's like, yeah, it's fine?
agreed. I mean, I think it's
It's-
ridiculous. If
see
you
how
look
it's
at the map,
always
it's
conservative?
silly.
all of the
Conservatives at the end-
statistical analysis of that map was that racial, it was racially drawn. All of the evidence in the federal case that three federal judges said, obviously, this map is racially drawn. All the statistical analysis supports that.
Sure, we can.
And the opposing side said, "Nuh-uh, you can't prove it."
But I mean, obviously, I would say, frankly, what they care more about is votes than they care about color. I mean, they want votes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's
Yeah,
how you
but-
feel.
yeah,
Why am I not
which is-
surprised? That's how you feel.
Which is why they
No, I'm saying that's what they care about.
Which is why they gerrymander it because they can't win votes, and so they just make those votes less impactful.
Well, it looks like that the impact is going to be shifting a little bit. It seems that this big orange monster is going to end up getting more of the black vote than any Republican ever.
Yeah,
Which
I'm
is
sure.
pretty
They
crazy
said
thing.
that in 2016. They said it in 2020.
They say that every
They say it
single
every time.
year.
And
Yeah.
they pay-
yeah,
yeah, we'll
more
see-
of the
we'll
vote
believe it
ever,
when we
which
see
is
it.
such a small percentage because the Republican Party literally does not want African Americans to vote.
I would wholeheartedly disagree with that.
Well, they
They
don't
want-
want them to vote if they're not
They
going
want
to
to
vote
make
Republican.
Yeah, they want to
There you
make their
go.
votes less impactful.
There you go. Yeah, they want the votes, and they don't care what color someone is. They want all the votes. Trust me.
Yeah, but if they can't get the votes, then they gerrymander.
Yeah, look,
And
it's
then
an
their
issue
courts
and it's
uphold
wrong.
it because they're
I agree.
again. I don't think the thing is like one of my I don't think we've talked before, but one of my biggest pet peeves is like the both sides. Like I'm in the middle. There can't be a middle with today's Republican Party. There's no middle. This Republican Party is a cult. Everything they claim they stand for, they don't. They're trying to strip the rights of people. They're trying to make it less likely for people to vote. And they're trying to make sure that billionaires keep more of their money while doing nothing to protect the working class, nothing to protect children, nothing to protect small businesses, nothing to protect middle America. Like, there is not a middle ground with this Republican Party. Like, go back 10 years, yeah, we can have a different conversation. But this version, there's no middle ground here. There's no, like, both sidesism. One
Man.
is just like a Christian cult.
Looks like the pendulum has swung quite hard to the right for a whole lot of people, for sure.
No, it
No,
hasn't actually.
It has not.
There's
That's
less.
your belief.
You have less of a percentage now than you did then. People are leaving the Republican Party. Nikki Haley dropped out 4 months ago, and she's still getting 20%. Now she's saying, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. She's still going to get 20% of the vote. I don't know what you're looking at. They've lost every election since 2016. Where is this hard
When
right
you-
pendulum swing?
When you say she's going to get 20%, where is she going to get 20%?
In
In
Republican
primaries, she's still getting 20% of the vote. It's sometimes more.
Yeah, obviously that's irrelevant, as we all know.
Well, where's this? And this is the thing. You're a conservative. We get it. Like, I know you're not in the middle, but
It's
like
a neocon.
you guys have been you've lost every election cycle since 2016. You've underperformed expectations every single time. Why are you telling me that there's this pendulum shift? I don't see it.
Because it takes. I can tell you, there's a ton of low IQ voters on the right that are very scared and very angry, and they're upset, man. They're upset about the far left stuff, and they don't want it. They do not want it, and they're willing to.
The
They're
far
willing to
left
vote
stuff,
for.
meaning equality and equity.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, the far left stuff. He's talking about equality and equity.
Well, you
They're
said it
digging
right.
their heels in. Yes, this is the real reality of being a conservative. That's what you are. You're trying to conserve the time period when the Constitution was written, sticking your heels in and saying, I never want anything to change. And basically, minority groups are trying to grab their rights from you guys, and you guys are digging your heels in saying, as hard as we can try, I'm an originalist, I'm a textualist, I believe the Constitution should be interpreted in the time it was written, when only white male landowners had the vote and had power in this country. That is what you're doing. Just own it.
I do own it. And it's like this whole that people talking about the patriarchy and all this kind of stuff. That's not me at all. I am absolutely the three most influential people in my life are three ladies. Okay, mother, grandmother, and aunt. Okay, so
So do you
I'm
vote?
I'm
So do
for
you vote to protect abortion access for women?
I'm for females. Those three ladies would
No, he
not.
but that
votes
wasn't
against
my
women's
question.
rights. We don't
But
have bodily
No,
autonomy,
no.
but
Listen,
he
I'm saying
respects
No,
three
no,
women.
hold on. Let me ask the question. So do you vote to protect the right for women to choose what they do with
those
their own body?
those three ladies that had the most influence on me would be against that.
I didn't ask you that question.
I'm
What's
telling you,
the question I asked is
They
telling you
don't
why.
have to get
yeah,
abortions,
so
Clint.
Clint, do you recognize that like you don't respect women, you respect the women who think like you think. But the ones who don't, you have no respect for. You don't care about their right to choose. Don't tell me you can't tell me like the most influential people were three women that think exactly like you think and then vote to take away the rights of women who don't think like the three women you respect. Like this is it comes off sorry, comes off as tokenism to me. That's what it feels like. It feels like you say I love my mom, therefore I love women. No, you love your mom.
Yeah, I also have a 13-year-old daughter.
And I'm sure you love her.
I'm for her right to compete against biological females.
And are you
I'm
for her
supporting my
rights to
13-year-old
Oh,
daughter.
here we go.
There we go. Yeah, it's
Hey,
about
Clint,
women's
I'm a
sports.
Division One athlete. I'm a Division One athlete.
Oh, good.
So please don't tell me about women's sports. It is not a problem what you're discussing. You know nothing about it. Thank you. But if you want to support equal pay, in women's sports or a real issue that women are having in sports, I would support you researching those, Clint. Please. And
Okay.
again, don't tokenize your daughter.
I'm for tokenize my daughter. I said I'm in
Don't
support of
act
my
like you
daughter.
support women and say and then yell out a MAGA
No.
conspiracy theory, Clint.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Where you live in Texas?
Let me ask you a really simple question here. Since you're a former Division One athlete, I wasn't as good as you. I only played Division Two. Okay, so you got me on that one. So here's my question: does my 13-year-old daughter have the right to enter a female locker room and not be exposed to a male genitalia? Does she have the right to do that?
What are you talking about? Like truly you're delusional. But if you are so in the weeds with your weird feelings about sexuality and gender.
Oh,
Those are
that's
your
weird.
own. Listen to me.
I'm
Those are
asking a
your
question. You're
then
not
stop
answering my
talking and let
question.
me answer. You're in the weeds with your own weird feelings about sexuality and gender, which have nothing to do with women playing sports. Those are your weird internal biases. But the future of sports, like since you asked me, like if you want to have a high level conversation, I would just refer to the Olympic Committee and what they're doing, Like the answer is that sports in the future won't necessarily involve gender, right? It's going to be about a series of medical tests about bone density, about things of that nature. And if you fall into certain categories, right, of hormones, of bone density, then you compete in that category. That's the future of sports. It transcends gender, Clint. That's the answer.
Okay, so
You
you're
wouldn't
in,
know that because you
you're,
played Division Two.
I only played Division Two. I'm clearly not as good a
Oh,
basketball
Clint,
player
I'm
as
sorry.
you
I'm
could be.
kidding. I'm kidding. That was a joke, Clint. I genuinely
It was a
and
shot at
there's
me too. So
No, no,
yes.
it's funny. I get it. It's cool. Make fun of me. It's all right. It's
I'm
fine.
kidding, Clint. Just
she's
have a
taking a
good
shot at me too, Clint.
Clint,
I
you're
also played
insulting me
Division
in
Two.
many ways with your political
I'm not.
beliefs. I just
I'm not
made a little
insulting you.
jokey.
No, I'm not insulting you. Again, I am worried. I'm scared about my daughter, and
No, you're
half
not.
the country,
No, you're
half the
not,
Yeah,
country
Clint.
no,
feels
you're
What are you
that way.
not,
scared
Clint.
of?
But that
What
was
are
a
you
nice
scared
try.
of, Clint? Be honest. That she might see some genitals that she doesn't have. Is that what you're afraid of, Clint?
I'm afraid of her being exposed
I
to
know.
things that I don't think she should be exposed to.
Okay, now gotcha. Now, if that were to happen, like, why are you automatically sexualizing somebody's genitalia?
Oh my goodness. Let me ask you guys a
No,
real
no, I
quick
asked you a
simple
question,
question.
Clint.
Answer
No,
the
this is a
questions. We're gonna get
simple
into
question.
what's going
Why are
on
you
here, Clint.
sexualizing teammates in a locker room together? I was in a lot of locker rooms. I'm sure you were,
It's
Clint.
not sexual
I
at
didn't
all,
fuck
Clint.
a single one of my teammates. I didn't
But
do anything
Clint,
sexual with any of my teammates. Why are you sexualizing it?
So we should have
No, no, no.
what?
Why are
Everyone
you
we should have
answer
common
the
sexualizing it?
bathrooms,
question, Clint.
Don't
common
run from
locker
this.
rooms across the board.
Answer
Don't
the
run from this.
question.
Answer the question.
I'm asking what is your position?
Clint,
No, I'm asking
why
you a
are you
question.
sexualizing what happens in locker rooms?
why am I saying?
Yes, let me
You're
tell
saying
you,
that there's
as teammates, right?
biological females
Listen,
that are
let me tell you why
not
I'm asking.
18?
I am bisexual, right? Like, because you're confusing, first of all, gender and sexual orientation. Those are two separate things, right? There are women in women's locker rooms attracted to women. There are women not attracted to, who are attracted to men, right? And you're acting like if I have an attraction towards women, because I am pansexual, right? Like I'm attracted to men, women, and pretty much the whole spectrum of gender. Like I don't, because I'm not weird, right? This is my thought. What, who I love and am attracted to has nothing to do with their genitals. That's the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm attracted to everything else about people but their genitals. You're obsessed for some reason with people's genitals, but I'm saying to you, in locker rooms, it has, what people's sexual orientations don't make them a predator or not a predator. There are women with all types of sexual orientations that play sports. We shower together. We don't look at each other. It's not about that. You sound like you were an athlete as a male in locker rooms. You know that it's not a sexual thing. So I'm curious now why you're making it one. It's very creepy.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm weird, and so is half the country.
Yeah, and we're just asking you to stop sexualizing
Okay,
everything so
I'll
that
do my
people can
best.
live.
Please
People
stop
can just live
sexualizing
their
random people's
like.
genitals.
Yeah, we just
I'm
want
the weird
people.
one. So
Yeah,
I'm
you
the
are.
weird
Yeah, we
one.
just
You
want
very,
people to
of the
live their
three of us
lives.
up here, one person is very weird. Yes.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll be the weird one. But again, there's half the country that feels the same way.
Yeah, but
Clint, let
half the
me tell
country
you.
needs. Can I go real quick? Half the country needs to stop sexualizing everything. This is the problem. This is the problem with everything that you're talking about. You have a daughter. I've got a daughter. You know who? If I want to protect my daughter, here's some steps I could take. One, never let her have a sleepover at a house. Two, don't send her to church. Don't send her to church activities. Three, explain to her that she is her own person and not to pay attention to the patriarchy. Don't give her roles that are assigned to her genitals. Let her be who she wants. Four, I'm going to explain to her what sex is: good touch, bad touch, consent. And men should be teaching their kids or their boys the exact same things, right? That's what parents' job is to do. The biggest threat to your child are the boys that she goes to school with, the people that maybe she goes to church with, and frankly, Clint, your family, her relatives. Statistically, those are her greatest threats. And yet, half of you are ignoring the greatest threats to your children, and you're like, what if they see genitals they didn't want to see? It doesn't come off as very honest to me, because you guys aren't doing anything to stop these churches. You're not doing anything to shut down the most abusive organizations in this country. But you want to go after trans kids, which, by the way, like, what are the chances that your daughter plays against a trans kid? Not very high. And when they are, like, it's very rare. And you think that there's just going to be this conspiracy for all these people to change their gender, to go beat other people at sports? They're going to do that. They're going to change their entire life just to win a sport. I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem. But
It's
until you
happening.
address the real dangers to your daughter, like, I don't want to hear about a trans person.
It
Well,
is
Felice,
absolutely not happening.
I'm sure that Felice will tell you that there are many state track records right now across the country that are held by non-biological females.
How many, Clint? Right
I
now.
don't. I
No,
figured
this
you
is a
would know. You
debate,
know the
Clint.
issue.
No, Clint, you're making a claim. Now back it up and cite your source, Clint. That's how
No
debate
source.
works. Oh,
No
it
source.
shocks. Clint made up a lie,
Just feelings.
No,
everyone.
I just
What
made
do
it
you
up.
know?
There's no
Hold
state
on. I
records
need
like
to
that.
debunk. All I hear are you making rash generalizations and telling lies. So I need to also clear up another one. The trans community are not and never have been predators. Right now, there are predators. If you want to get into psychology and sexual abuse, most people who are sexual abusers or predators have also been sexually abused themselves. That
Yeah.
has no correlation, right, to gender. That can be right. The majority of sexual abusers are male. That is true. But again, you're trying to say that because someone is trapped in the wrong body and saying, hey, my inside, my brain doesn't match my body. I'm experiencing dysphoria. I am suicidal. I need to change so that my outsides match my insides and I can self-actualize and live in a healthy way. That somehow makes them a predator. It does not, Clint. You need to take a psychology class. I'm concerned for you.
I'm with
But
you.
and also as a
You're
woman, because
it's
I
not just
do
me,
think you
you're
should
concerned for
protect
half the
your daughter.
country.
You should protect your daughter. I agree with that. And let me tell you, I have been essayed multiple times as a child. It happened at church. So again, if you care about your daughter, I would keep your daughter away from church. I would keep your daughter away from men, right? That's statistically, look up the statistics, and very true, especially with children. Childhood sexual assault happens familially. It is
Agreed.
someone that has access to that child, normally familially, or, some sort of friend. So worry about those people, Clint,
Yeah.
statistically.
Question for you, for an athlete. I appreciate the explanation. Thank you. I have a question about the WNBA. You mentioned equal pay, but before we get to equal pay, I wanted to ask you. I was a average Division II basketball player. Would you have been in support of me identifying as a female and entering the WNBA?
If you identified as a female, sure.
If you
So
want to turn, no, well, let me just tell you, I want to speak about that because the way it's looking to answer that, and my belief, I was a volleyball player, but I was better at basketball, but I did play volleyball in college. They asked me to play on the basketball team, but so my answer to that is the way it's looking with the Olympic Committee. I think team sports are a little different. I also believe that the rule, like the lesson in sports is there's always someone better than you, right? Especially on team sports. There's one guy that you have to neutralize. That's part of being a team and coming up with a strategy and learning how to overcome that. But when you're talking about things like track and swimming and looking at, again, I don't like talking about this because just bigoted men like yourself, it's not genuine. But what it's
that a
looking like
shot?
from the Olympic Committee side is that right now the people who are going to be allowed to compete in women's sports, you have to have transitioned like pre-puberty because it has to do with bone density, right? Like once your bones are a certain density, right? Like there is an unfair advantage. So like that's the decision, like I believe, and what it's looking like at this point. Now that could evolve, right?
So
But
you,
it's
so you feel
about
like
finding out how there's not unfair advantages, particularly in sports where it's a race, it's not a team sport. But yeah, like you
so
have to look,
you've
Clint,
seen
for
some of the
someone that
videos.
cares so much about this, you do not know actually what's going on with it because
No,
there's a lot
I
of
only know what I've
information.
seen.
No,
I've
but
seen
Clint,
some
you don't
videos.
do the research. You're out here like, oh, there's predators. I gotta find out, but you know nothing about it.
Listen, all I know is I've seen videos. Have you seen some videos of high
Oh,
school
Clint's been on
situations?
YouTube, everyone.
No, have you seen any videos of females being injured by
Yeah,
biological males?
yeah, dude. But this is the thing. Like, I also played sports. My sister was a very good athlete. She had terrible things happen to her injury wise as well. Like, you may be talking about like the volleyball incident where somebody gets hit in the face. Like that happens. You get injured in sports. That's kind of how it goes. But again, the truth is, this isn't actually what you're scared of. You're just transphobic.
Are you making it an equivalency? Like you're saying that a woman could injure a
Who?
biological
Yeah.
female
Who do
could
you
injure
think?
another female
Yeah,
in the same way?
in
Yes, it
volleyball,
has
in
to do
hold
with
on, hold on,
velocity.
hold
You
on,
don't
hold
know.
on, hold
Well,
on,
it's
hold
my
on, hold on,
sport. I
please.
could
In
speak to it. It's about
volleyball,
torque.
if Felice and I both spike a ball at you, who do you think's whose ball is going to come faster, mine or Felice's?
Police, 100%.
Yeah,
But you're not a volleyball player.
You don't
but I'm
understand the
What about
strong.
mechanics
I'm
of an arm
strong.
swing.
doesn't
It's about
matter
torque.
technique
But you don't even
technique.
understand what you're speaking about again. And you don't. And also, volleyball's co-ed. You don't know that either. But I played in many co-ed leagues. I've been smashed in the face with volleyballs by males. That's something that happens when you play defense in volleyball. Like, Clint, stop crying. Either you want to compete or you don't. Like, stop.
Okay, so that's what these people who have girls that have been
No,
injured
I
should say.
answered your
They
question.
should say get tougher, right?
No, but I mean, in volleyball, if you want to play volleyball, the reality of is it if your reflexes are not fast enough, if you're not good enough at defense, you're going to be hit in the face. That's how
Okay.
you learn how to play defense.
Okay, so you said it's about velocity. What if a
No, I said it's
biological
about
male?
torque. I said it's
Okay,
about torque.
the speed of the ball matters. Okay, so you're telling me that if the speed of the ball is significantly higher being hit by a biological male, you're saying that makes no difference in high school volleyball?
What that has to do with then is net size. Like, I can't even talk
I
to you
think well
about
the
this.
big problem with all of this is like again, Clint, this isn't your
You're
argument and you're not
transphobic.
being very honest.
And
You're just transphobic. And
I
so
don't, I
even
don't, I
even
don't
if
care what anybody does.
even Clint, even if you're going to use every one of these examples, these are anecdotal. These don't happen often. These are outliers. I remember like checking kids' age or birth certificates playing Pop Warner football and baseball because they hit the ball too hard or they were too big and everybody didn't think it was fair. It's the same thing. But do I agree that sports should be fair? Yes. Do I think the best way for sports to be fair is to have everybody check their genitals and decide only on those lines? Absolutely not. I think that there are better ways that we can divide sports up into divisions. And you guys are saying like, "Oh, well, you just can't have trans people." No, of course we can. Everybody can play sports, and some people aren't as good. There's an argument right now. There's a bunch of conservatives who are very upset with Major League Baseball because Major League Baseball decided to include statistics from the Negro leagues and now put those statistics included with Major League Baseball, and certain athletes are falling down on the list, and they're very upset about that. But does it make sense that some of the best players in the world weren't allowed to play with the white players, so we just don't count their statistics? No, we count their statistics. Things change. And you know what happened to that league after we integrated? There were less white people. Okay, there were a lot less white people. But
Yes.
that's not a sign that we shouldn't have you certainly wouldn't say we shouldn't have integrated sports, right?
Look at the
You're not
NBA
saying
and the
we,
of course
NFL,
he
bro.
I know, but
probably
you're not
Come on.
saying we
says
should have
that.
a white and a black league still, right?
Look at the NBA and the
No,
But
NFL.
you're
answer
not
the
saying we
question,
should have a
Clint.
white and a black league, right?
Of course not.
So then
That's
why do you hold that
why are
position
how are you making how are you
when it
making that an
comes
equivalency?
because there were better athletes who weren't allowed to play with the white athletes, and once those better athletes were accepted by society, there were less white athletes. And I'm just saying, if you're going to extend your logic and this is about fairness, then certainly you would probably have to agree that we should segregate our leagues based on race too, to make that all equal.
So you would be in favor of having a white league because white
No,
players are not as athletic as black
that's
players?
your
That's
logic
your line of
extended,
logic.
not
That's
mine.
what
No.
you're saying. We're following your line of logic back through history and giving you another example. Like what we're saying is, Clint, right now, you guys just apparently, I don't know how, because just to be clear, trans people didn't just the trans community didn't come out of thin air. Like hundreds of years ago, there were trans people experiencing body dysmorphia, but they had to hide because things like the Spanish Inquisition, they were just killing people for their sexual orientation, and for gender dysphoria, forget about it. You had to hide. Like there was no way, right? You were considered demon possessed or whatever. But time has marched on, right? Same thing with racism. Remember what happened was they assumed because Africans were so athletic. What was it that Schmittler said, that they had an extra bone in their foot? I believe it was. That's what he said. That was his explanation for why Africans were so successful in sports, and people believed that. That's why there were separate leagues, because to be perfect, Caucasian men cried about fairness. That's what you're doing now, crying about fairness. But you guys apparently just heard of the trans community. So in 50
Well,
years,
hang
no,
on.
so let me finish. In 50 years, this is not going to be a new thing, and white males will be comfortable again and feel like things aren't weird for them and they're more fair. And then then we'll move on to the next thing you guys feel uncomfortable about.
Okay, well said. So what I heard you say is that you're in favor of what the Olympic Committee is doing. You're in favor of limitation.
No. I think that this needs to be figured out, right? Like there's got to be an answer.
What are you in
I'm
favor of?
saying no. I'm telling you. I told you, Clint. The answer is, like, when you talk to scientists and people who really care about sports, I told you what it is. Sports will transcend gender. It's just a series of medical tests, and then you will fit into a category, and that is the category that you will then compete in. That's
if
what I'm
you
trying.
don't?
It won't be girls and boys anymore, Clint.
Okay.
Gender is a construct. It doesn't exist. It just was to help categorize people. But that's not a real thing. It's an idea,
What
right?
if you don't agree though? What if you're the person who's
Oh, Clint doesn't
transitioned and you
agree.
don't
Oh, here
agree?
we go. White males
No, no,
don't
no, no.
Agree
agree.
with what?
I'm saying, what if you're the biological male who is now saying that he's a female, and you don't agree with these tests that you're talking
Agree
about?
with what?
You don't agree with the bone
you don't.
density
Then
test.
you don't.
It's not my fault. You're
Then you
that.
don't
I mean,
play.
Then you
that
don't
Clint.
play.
okay. That person's going to say they're being discriminated against
They're
because
not
they
though,
have bone
because no,
density.
wait, but that's the thing. They're not being discriminated against because the tests apply to everybody. It can't be discrimination
Uniform
if
throughout.
everybody is using the exact same test. How are you going to claim discrimination there, Clint?
So then we're going to say, okay, so then what about biological females that have less bone density? And they're like, hey, this isn't fair.
No,
You're
you're not
allowing
getting
way
it,
too much bone
Clint, you're
density.
not getting it. You don't understand. So I'm going to say it again. And instead of waiting to just argue back, I want you to open your
I'm
mind and I want you
listening.
to receive the information. Okay, here we go. Stop saying females and males. None of that exists in the future in sports. Okay, there will be categories of people based on blood tests, right? And then whoever is in that category, that range, right, of hormone levels and things like that will compete together in a group, period.
You guys realize
Whoever those
this is
people are, not
this is
males and
limiting.
females.
This is absolutely going to over time limit opportunities for biological females. It absolutely is.
It
Why?
absolutely is not.
Why, Clint?
Why?
Yeah,
Sheer
why?
numbers. It's numbers.
Why
Just
wouldn't
sheer
just more?
numbers.
Why wouldn't we just have more leagues?
More leagues. So what you want to have 2 teams at every high school? What do you want? What do you
Are
what do you mean
women
more leagues?
playing in the
takes.
NBA now, right? So let's say the highest level of hormone, like levels of testosterone, bone density, things. Are women in that league now, Clint? No, they're not. The only people limiting women is the patriarchy. That's you, Clint. That's you.
No, I'm actually the
If you're
opposite.
worried
I'm
about women
supporting
and how we can
biological
stop,
women.
no, stop, Clint. If you're worried about stopping discrimination against biological women, then I have a list of things that you need to change about
That's
your
a-
beliefs. This is not an issue, Clint. This is not what we're struggling with.
All right, RTP, that was a fallacy that you just brought up. That we just need to have more leagues. I mean,
How's that a
think about it.
fallacy?
Okay, so
Doesn't know
what
what
would
a
that look like
fallacy
at your
is.
high school?
How's
The
that
high
a
school that
fallacy? Wait, how's
It's
the
not
that
a
a
high school that you
fallacy.
went to? How's that?
Yeah.
What if there's not enough of it? What if there's not enough to have a separate team?
Enough
Now what?
Enough what?
There's not. You're trying to categorize people and say have
No, I'm
more
not.
teams.
No, I'm
Hold
But
not.
what
on.
if there's
You're
not
not- you're
enough to have
missing
a
it.
team?
Please. Let me
Yeah,
talk.
he
Let me
doesn't
get
get
some
it.
words
You
in here.
don't get
No, let
it.
me explain my position. It's like in wrestling or in fighting. Like there's weight classes, right? If you weigh 185 pounds, can you go fight at 135?
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you
let's
just
talk basketball or volleyball.
So there are different levels. Look, if everybody had the same haircut and wore the same baggy outfits and 300 people showed up and they all came to tryouts and they all had the same haircut, they had the same outfits, and you weren't allowed to look at their genitals, how would you divide them up, Clint? By whoever's the best, right? Like, so when I was in junior high, there was an A team and a B team, and you went to tryouts, and the best 10 players were on the A team, and the next 10 were on the B team, right? And then they were like, we got to get more people playing to develop. So then we had a C team as well. So there were 3 teams, and there could have been 5 teams if we had enough people that wanted to compete. You design sports so the best players are in the top division, and it doesn't matter what genitals they have. What you have to do is abandon this idea that for some reason participation in sports should the prerequisite for that should be what's between your legs. It's not. Like, you really want equality for your daughter? Well, then let's remove all those barriers of like who's the best athlete. And maybe your daughter will be on the D team. Maybe she'll be on the B team. Maybe she'll be on the A team. I don't know, but that's fair. If we're going to talk about competing, the best players are on the best teams.
I love the picture that you're painting, but that's never going to happen in reality.
Because of you guys, though. We're
Oh.
ready for it. You
No,
guys, the
there's
conservatives,
never going to be
are
that many
so
teams.
no, because you guys think trans people are icky, and so even though we've all agreed, like, yeah, the best players should play, you guys are like, no, we can't do that because we think trans people are icky. You guys are the reason that this can't happen. You get that,
What?
right? We're ready. We're ready right
You're
now
not,
to make this agreement.
This is not practical application. Let's say
How
that
is it
they're
not practical application?
because let's say there's a high school in my town and there are 2 biological males that have transitioned to be females. What's going to happen is that there's not going to be another team. There's going to be that some of the females are not going to play on that team
if there's
anymore
a
because they
A
don't want to
team-
play against them.
Okay,
They
well
don't
then
want
they
to play
don't get
against
to
them in
play.
practice.
Yeah,
That's
if
the
they're
thing about this
bigots,
country,
Clint,
Clint. You don't get to avoid
someone's
activities
bigotry-
because you're a bigot.
Yeah,
you don't
if
get
someone's
to avoid.
bigotry means they don't want to be around another human, then they can leave, right? That's the
Not
answer.
bigotry.
Yes,
If
Clint.
they-
If a bunch of bigots are like, I can't play around this person because I'm a bigot, then the bigots leave. That's the answer. The bigots get to leave.
I'm 6'3" and 220 pounds. If
Do
I
you
would
know
have
what
been,
a bigot is? It has
if I
nothing to
would
do
have
with your
been-
height and your weight, sir.
okay, call me a big bigot. I'm big. Okay, so if I would have transitioned and played against the girls in practice that were at my high school, 3 of them were Division I basketball
That
players.
does not happen.
Wait,
Not
hold on.
finish. You're not
Clint,
letting me finish.
Clint,
Those
well,
girls would have
wouldn't
ended up
exist,
injured.
Clint. That
Do you
wouldn't
understand?
exist, Clint, that wouldn't exist. We're talking about separating the best players. Like,
How?
honest to God, if we're being honest, at like most normal sized schools, if you take the 10 best basketball players in that school, most likely right now, given development and what we know, most likely those 10 best players are going to be biological males right now.
Oh my
Now
gosh, what a bigot. You're such a bigot.
Hold on. But the difference is here, we chose that team based on who was the best. What if there happens to be 4 biological females on that team? Well, then we've got 6 biological males, 4 biological females, and what do we still have? The 10 best players in the school. And then the B team is the next 10 best players. You won't let this idea of gender go. Like, you have separated everything into gender and genitals. I'm saying we don't need to do that. We don't need to separate by genitals. And you keep going back to, well, how are we going to separate by genitals? We don't. That's what we're trying to get away from. And you guys won't stop talking about genitals. And it's weird.
So the girl, the practical application is not going to happen. You realize most schools in this
Because of
country are
you.
little schools. They're
Because of
small
you.
schools.
Because of you.
Okay,
You
I'm-
and your friends are the
you-
reason that we can't do this.
What
Stop
you're
being
describing wouldn't have worked at my high school at all.
Yeah, because of the bigots. I agree.
No,
Yeah.
because it would have only taken one of me to transition and be a part of the team with a bunch
Would
of
you
girls.
have been on the A team, the B team, the C team, or the D team? Which team would you have been on, Clint?
The B team. He's a
What if
B
I
team
just-
player.
what if-
I
what
can
if I
smell
just-
a B
B
team
team. I'm on the
player
B
when
team.
I meet one.
There's no,
No, I'm on the B
transition
team.
to go to the girls' team, Clint. There's no transition to go to the girls' team because there's no fucking girls' team, Clint.
Okay, so we're gonna eliminate girls sports completely.
No.
Oh my God!
yeah.
And men and
Separate-
boys sports and boys
yes,
sports.
both of them are
Clint.
gone
Both.
forever, Clint.
Surprise!
We just have
So there's-
sports now.
So that's the future. Is there's going to be no boys and girls
It's
basketball
almost
in
like
high
for
school.
the first time he heard me. I have said that for 30 minutes.
Do you realize, guys? You guys don't realize how crazy that is to half the country. That's crazy talk.
To your sad, closed mind, Clint. Yes,
It's-
we
that will
realize. We
never happen.
realize how slow you are. Yes,
Clint,
we're
eventually-
struggling with it in real time. We're experiencing it.
Do you
Eventually-
realize that they're going
eventually,
to
just
passing
like-
laws in red states against that? It's never going to
and
happen.
Eventually,
That's what they
Clint,
said about integration too.
Oh,
That's
my goodness,
exactly what they
guys.
said
Gay marriage,
about
same thing.
integration and gay marriage. And here we are, Clint.
Y'all
Times
are-
they are a changing, and it's
Listen-
hard for you.
Guys, listen. This is a losing issue. This is how Donald
Then
Trump
why
gets
do we
elected.
keep winning? Then why do
This
we
is
keep winning
this is how
elections?
Donald Trump becomes the president.
He lost,
this kind of a
dummy.
stu- this kind
he
of conversation.
lost on this. He lost on this. Do you
Okay.
forget that he fucking lost in
I got
2020?
news.
How
I
about
got
let's talk
news.
about Clint? Let's talk about your state right now. We had the anti-trans, pro-Trump, pro-Ken Paxton candidate in the Republican primaries. He couldn't even win his primary with an endorsement from Donald Trump and Ken Paxton. Why? because he's very transphobic and he doesn't stand for the equality for women to choose what to do with their bodies. You are on the losing side, Clint. You're getting your ass kicked every single day, and you're coming here being like, we'll never surrender. No, you're losing. We don't need you to surrender. All
You
we
guys,
need you to do is age, because everybody else is changing their mind. You guys will just age out, and you'll be the curmudgeon on the end of the road that nobody talks to, because it's like, yeah, we can't really go there because he's going to say some bigoted
There's
shit.
that old
and we don't wanna
bigoted guy
fight
that
with
no
him.
one wants to sit by. That's going to be you, Clint.
guys, you can listen. I'll take it all. Give me all the heat you want. I'm telling you, this is how Trump wins. Is
Yeah,
this
but
kind
he
of stuff?
lost.
He's not going to lose if this is the conversation. Trust
This
me.
was the conversation in 2020 and he lost. This was the conversation in 2022 and Democrats did very
Remember
well.
the red wave that never came, Clint?
It has accelerated in a big way, and I'm telling you, the pushback from the far right is coming. It's coming.
Yeah, we know you bigots are gonna fight just like you did. Like, this is what happens when your bigotry is exposed and you're confronted, and you have to accept that, like, hey, the rest of this country has decided we're not going to allow this bigotry. Yeah, you guys get mad and you fight back. And you know what else you do? You know
I'm
what
not
you
mad.
guys have? You know what you guys have done 100% of the time? Fucking lost.
Okay.
Bigots keep losing, and you just got 20 years from now, you're going to be on the wrong side of history. Your kids have trans friends. Your kids have gay friends. They will have trans friends and gay friends. Maybe one of your kids is trans or gay, but like, they're not going to respect that their dad doesn't think that their friends or them aren't human.
You realize that we have a situation where Trump is losing cases and might well lose today, and is still going to be the guy. And the polls say people are going to vote for him more, not less.
Yeah, because you guys love the bigotry. You stand for nothing. You have no principles, none whatsoever. This is the most flawed, corrupt candidate of all time.
Guys.
And every time he does something wrong, you're like, we love him even more. Yeah, we get it. You guys are just all bigots.
You guys you have to come up with some other way to win.
We don't.
You're
keep
going to
beating
lose.
you. You haven't beat us since 2016, bro. It's been 8 years. You've been getting your shit pushed in for 8 years. Don't talk to me about winning. You haven't seen a win in a long time, my friend.
Biden's at 37%.
Feels like.
You're going to have to replace him.
Clint's waiting by his phone to get called for a poll.
54% of Democrats want to replace
it's
Biden
the guy,
right now.
Guys, that answers his phone for polls. 54%. This is who it is.
Want Biden out.
Yeah, but
Why?
They don't want him out because they want Trump. They want him out because they don't think he's doing a great job.
Why don't they think he's doing a great job?
Because in some areas he's not doing a great job.
Okay, so who's better?
Biden or Trump?
No, who's better to replace him?
Well, we're not replacing him. People
he's going to be replaced. He's not making it to the ballot
before November.
If he doesn't get replaced, he will lose.
You're too, you don't know what you're talking
about. He's got a 37% approval rating.
Yeah.
Obama had
bless
47
your heart,
right
Clint.
now.
You're from the South. You know what blessing someone's heart is. We just
You're
have to bless your heart.
Listen, y'all, I will be happy to come back in November after the election and talk about it. Because
you're not going to show up if you lose, because you guys are all just like, you'll show, and if you do, you'll be like, the election was stolen.
I will 100% show up either way.
All right, show up when you lose. But listen,
also,
dude, you live in Texas. You know how the shift to blue is happening. Texas is shifting blue. You see it in your own state. Ted Cruz might lose. In Texas.
I mean, if they're certainly spending a lot of money to try and make them do that.
That must kill you.
Yeah, it's almost like a lot of people don't want conservatives in charge, so they're willing to spend money. Imagine that, Clint.
I wonder where do you think that most of that money's coming from? Inside or outside of the state?
Outside.
Yeah, outside. Yeah,
just like every big election,
coming from poor people or rich people.
Where do you think Ted Cruz is getting most of his
billionaires?
money?
That's right.
Police,
I love your honesty.
Cruz is getting most of his money.
Billionaires.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
It means we need to stop that nonsense.
Clint, why don't you guys want to see Rafael Cruz's birth certificate? Where is Rafael Cruz's birth certificate? Why did you let someone not born in the United States run in the Republican primary? That's what I want to know. Where's the energy for Rafael Cruz's
to be president?
Birth certificate?
Is he eligible to be president or not?
Yeah, he ran. I don't know if you remember. He won the Iowa primary. He was the last man standing against Trump
Clint
in
doesn't
2016.
know anything about politics, Jay.
Have you ever watched TV? Like
Yeah,
when the politics run?
I
Yeah,
know.
you
I
didn't
know about
know.
Ted Cruz.
Remember when he beat Trump and then Trump's like, his dad killed JFK and the election was rigged? Remember when Trump said the Iowa caucus was rigged
And
and that Ted
somehow, some
Cruz's
way,
dad assassinated JFK? You remember
somehow
that?
he won anyway.
Yeah, because you guys are all dumb. You just don't care. You're
Okay,
like
You're a
a
mark.
liar.
I'm
Yeah,
conceding
we're
it
used
to
to
You're
a
a
you.
liar.
mark. Donald
There's
Trump
enough.
said if I ran for president, I would run as a Republican because they believe anything. You are a mark.
Listen, y'all have to figure out a way to educate the dumb ones on the
No,
right
we
over
don't,
here.
because we keep winning.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
What-
do you know that that's why we're winning? It's
What's-
because our ideas are better. You guys
what
don't
is-
have any
oh,
ideas.
goodness.
All
What's
you do
gonna
is complain.
happen?
You've been here for like 40 minutes. You've complained about trans people and Joe Biden's approval rate. Yeah, you guys don't stand for anything. That's why you keep losing. It's not a compelling argument to the American people.
Complaining doesn't create policy.
Let me tell you what the biggest losing argument is. The biggest losing argument is spend less money. How about a fiscal conservative right here? That's a losing argument
None
on
of
both
your
sides.
politicians believe that, and you
No,
don't
they-
believe it. And if you did believe it, then you would vote for Democrats, because every time a Democrat is president, we reduce deficit spending, and every time a Republican is president, we increase deficit spending.
Democrats
so
are paying.
even if you held to
doesn't
those
even know
standards,
that.
you couldn't vote for Republicans.
Democrats are subsidizing electric cars and making Elon Musk richer.
You
Which
guys
you
are
cited earlier.
subsidizing oil barons and making them richer.
And guess what Elon
One of
Musk
them
said
is
the
a
other
better
day?
thing than
he
the
said,
other.
He said, let's take out subsidies on both sides and see what happens.
Who did?
Kill it.
Elon Musk said, let's take out all the oil
He's not
subsidies
running for office. I can't
and take
vote for
out
him.
all. No, I'm saying. he
Yeah,
called
we're not
for
going to vote for him. We won't vote for him. You win.
No, listen. The richest dude that is benefiting the
Guys,
most
don't vote for Elon
from
Musk.
subsidies said, let's take out all the subsidies from the electric car business and let's take all the
Yeah, why do you
subsidies from
why do you
oil.
think he said that, Clint?
Because he believes that electric cars would win if the subsidies were taken out of oil.
Well, I think what he believes is that he has a head start, and he doesn't want subsidies going to other electric car manufacturers, especially at a time when he just fucked up the Cybertruck. His cars are being recalled right and left. He's losing his market share. The cars coming from China are significantly better. He doesn't want competition. He didn't say shit when the government propped up his, not only Tesla, but Solar City. Like, he's saying it now that he has
ran Solar City into the
$120
ground.
billion. Yeah.
Are you all in support of the 100%
No, wait, hold
tariff?
on, Clint. Why don't you recognize that? Why don't you recognize that he only said this after he took all the government money and after he has like a huge share of the market and wants to protect it?
I
Why can you
agree.
see through all this stuff, but you can't see that
No, I
Elon Musk
agree.
is a grifter to you guys? He's telling you what you want to hear, so you'll support
I
him.
agree. I agree. I'm listen. You want to hear a hot take from someone on the right? I'm against oil subsidies.
Then stop voting for Republicans.
I'm against it.
That's your hottest take yet, Clint. I'll give
That's
you
a
that.
Why
hot
do you
take.
vote for Republicans?
I'm against all subsidies.
Then
on
why
all
do
sides.
you vote for Republicans if you're against it?
Because I don't know who would I vote for a libertarian candidate? Who am I going to vote
scared
for?
of the trans community.
Well, you could have voted for Beto O'Rourke. He was against subsidies for big oil. He was
But he's
against
not-
government
but he-
subsidies for most things.
But he's not against the subsidies that benefit the things on the left.
Like what? Like what?
Wind farms or whatever. The Green New Deal
Clint, do
and all
you
that
admit
stuff.
that climate
not against
crisis
that.
exists? Well, let's just cover something. Can you acknowledge climate crisis, or are you a believer that it's not? Do you believe it is happening?
I think we've been in a multi-thousand-year climate crisis.
So no.
Oh my
So let me
God.
explain the difference here, though, Clint. When you give a subsidy to an oil billionaire, and they go and they get that oil, then what do they do with that oil?
What do they sell
They
it?
refine it and they sell it, right?
Yeah,
And and they keep the profits, right?
Correct.
Okay, when a subsidy goes for, let's say, a wind farm, who gets
Yeah.
the profits from that?
Who gets the profits from the wind farm?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it's divided among, in a lot of cases,
Goes
divided
back
among
on the grid, right? Goes to the people. So it's a subsidy that benefits all of the people instead of one big fucking oil baron.
Well, there are
Yeah, so
companies
I
that
also,
build
if I'm going to
wind
look at
farms.
government subsidies, I'm going to say, does this government subsidy help the American people? When it comes to wind farms, the answer is yes. when it comes to subsidies for oil barons, the answer is no. It's very easy to say like, oh, all subsidies are bad, therefore I'm just going to keep voting Republican. But not all subsidies are bad.
This is a right up my alley, actually, believe it or not. Where I came from in Northwest
sound like
Ohio. No, where I came from in Northwest
Why
Ohio.
am I not
has-
surprised that?
Hang on.
God,
Where I came from in
Ohio
Northwest
to
Ohio.
Texas, right?
Yeah, Ohio to Texas. Where I came from in Northwest Ohio has some of the greatest farm ground in the country, and
Terrific.
12,000 acres was turned into what? Solar panels.
Terrific. Good.
Okay.
That benefits people.
Guess who benefited? The companies that installed the solar panels
Who else benefited?
made millions.
Who else benefited?
The farmers who are leasing the land and not growing food,
And
by
who
the
else?
way,
And
while
who
they're
else?
starving people all
And who
across the
else?
country.
And who
we're
else
not,
benefited,
we're not
Clint?
growing more
Let's
food.
keep going. Let's keep going. Who else benefited, Clint?
With the people who didn't benefit are the starving people
No,
across the
who
world
else?
who are
No,
now
we're
not getting
making a
enough.
list right now, Clint.
food
We're making a
grown.
list. Who are the other people that benefited?
I don't know. Tell me.
How about the people who pay less for their energy because we're using solar?
I don't think that's true.
Well, that's stupid because I saved like $300 a month in the
Yeah.
summer by switching to solar here. So that's dumb.
Solar's working
But
in Arizona.
But those solar panels, once they're installed, they generate electricity, right? They go into the grid. So
Yeah.
a lot of a lot of people benefited for that solar farm. Now, who benefits when the oil company gets the subsidy? Let's list them.
So hold on. One last
Let's
point
just list
before you
them
move
real
on.
quick. No, I'm
The-
not moving on. This is the same subject.
Hold
Let's
on.
list
The
people.
farmers
I
aren't
wasn't done
growing
yet.
food now, and they're getting paid
I
rent
wasn't.
on
No,
their
we're
land.
just talking about who benefits right now. We can get to that after. Now, for the oil subsidies, who benefits from oil subsidies?
Who benefits from oil subsidies? Well,
Mhm.
the goal is obviously to allow for the oil barons to make money, but also to keep down the prices of gas.
And how's that worked? Where they've made record profits this year, or the last 4 years? How are those oil prices going?
With no oil
I'm
subsidies,
just
gas
wondering
would
how
be way
that's
higher.
going.
No, gas would be way higher. It'd be double more. I don't know.
It wouldn't.
Why?
It wouldn't. I mean, that's nonsense.
Yeah,
But do you
like,
understand how oil
OPEC
subsidies
sets the
to
price
these
of oil.
folks? It goes to benefit basically the owners and the shareholders. Renewable energy benefits all of us.
Okay.
That's
but-
why we're for those and not for the ones where these are our resources, America. Why did those oil barons
Yeah.
get our oil?
Now it's under our feet. We're Americans. Now, if we nationalized,
Oh
oil.
boy. Oh, that's a losing issue for sure.
Except for
calm
virtually
down,
every
Clint.
country.
It
does
belongs to all of us.
I no, it doesn't belong to me.
It
For
does.
sure.
At least it would be a loser for all of us.
Does
to
it
share in
belong
that-
to
in those
British Petroleum?
profits.
The oil
No.
under Americans' feet? Does it
No, I
belong
mean,
to British Petroleum? Does
They
it?
do land leases. They work
Come
with
on, Clint.
landowners. They pay for it. I
Come
mean,
on,
it's not
Clint.
that they're just confiscating all the oil. They have to do deals.
What would we do if we split? How could we survive if we used the profits from our oil, to do things like pay for school or maybe healthcare or for our
Universal
infrastructure?
Kind of like how we went to Iraq and spent
But
trillions of
that would
dollars
be a
and
disaster.
needed to get the oil out of there.
But that would be a disaster. So instead, what we should do, because that would be such a disaster, is we should give all the money to like 2 companies. That's what we should do. That's better.
No, I'm
Which
against
one's
all that.
better, Clint? Which one's
I'm
better?
against all that.
Which
I'm
one's
against all
better?
that.
We could benefit the American. We could all have free health care, or some shareholders could get rich. What do you think?
Well, I mean,
Preference?
again, now we're talking about free market versus not.
No,
I mean,
we're
so
not.
what-
It's not free market. There's basically 2 oil companies, dude.
This
There's
is not
nothing
the free
free
market.
about the market.
We have a managed economy in a big way, obviously.
Yeah, don't
every
call
way.
it a free market. You know better than that.
No, I mean, I'm saying it's at least we have private ownership. I mean, if we don't have that, now what?
You tell me. Now what, Clint?
Public, you're for public ownership of
No,
all the
I know you
oil
asked
rights?
me a question. I don't know the answer to that. So tell me what the answer is.
Well, socialism.
What's okay? Well, and then what happens with socialism?
What happens?
Yeah.
Well, I don't assume that that's where we want to be as
What
Americans.
is socialism?
That's as far as Republicans get. Just the bad word of socialism.
What
he has
is
no
socialism,
idea what it
Clint?
is.
Socialism.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, where I mean, again, I think that on the free market side, it's private ownership of the production of goods and
Yeah.
services.
And what's socialism?
Public ownership of goods and services.
So the workers own their own production, right?
I mean, most of the time controlled by some kind
And
of
can
evil
and
despot. Yeah.
under socialism, can you have private property?
I guess it depends. I mean,
The
I'm
answer is
assuming that
yes.
there's been a spectrum.
Virtually every country in this world that has some variation of socialism also has private ownership. The only places that don't are ones that are run by fascist dictators, the ones that Trump loves, like Putin.
Like North Korea.
Like yeah, like North Korea, like Russia. Those are fascists. Those are authoritarians. Have nothing to do with socialism. But
Seems like there's
then
oil
you're like,
oligarchs in
hey, you know what
Russia.
I like? I like the president who aligns with Putin and North Korea. I like the guy who thinks that they're doing a great job. Like, dude, I don't know. Like, you don't know what socialism is. Socialism just means that like all of us get paid for our work equally, and that somebody like Elon Musk doesn't wind up having $120 billion in wealth that he got almost exclusively off the backs of everybody else's labor. It's a more fair system. You can have private equity, or private ownership. You can own multiple homes if you want under socialism. Like you've just been told that socialism equals bad. So
Okay.
what? So if
Then
you
what
want to
about
pay less
then what about
taxes, Clint,
communism?
if you want to pay less taxes,
You have
and you
no
want to
idea
get
what
money
communism
out
is.
of government, and it sounds like the quickest thing you could do is nationalize oil, because you wouldn't have to pay as many taxes because oil would pay for it. Oh, and by the way, no more big oil lobby because we own it, and it's only at our benefit.
So how do you do that? How do you nationalize oil in America?
You say that oil is ours.
And so what happens to those publicly traded companies that people own
They would
in their
mostly go
401k plan?
away. They would
They
mostly
go
go away.
drill in other they take their business elsewhere.
So what happens to the people who have 401k plans that own those oil companies?
They lose it.
They just lose it.
Yep.
So somebody has to lose.
No,
Somebody has
it
to
doesn't.
lose
It's
to
not even
nationalize.
like that though, because when you nationalize oil, like all these companies, like the infrastructure that's built is still valuable. It's the same thing with when you talk about universal healthcare and Medicare for all. Like you act like all the like all of that just then becomes functions of the government. But people in the oil and gas industry, there's still going to be jobs.
If we wanted to, we could offset, we could subsidize those losses to their 401k. We could reimburse them for those losses of their 401k. There's lots of options.
Sure. I guess we would just have to print the money to do it. No problem. Just print more money and then we'll pay
Or we
everybody
could
off.
wait for it to trickle down from the billionaires like you're doing, Clint.
The great news about printing more money is we would also have the profits from oil coming in. So we would have a massive increase in revenue. So it would be less inflationary, wouldn't it?
So the federal government then would just make all those profits from oil, right?
Yeah, and they would use those profits to pay for things like the military and for roads and education, and maybe even those subsidies you hate so much for wind farms.
Maybe we pay down the debt. Maybe we make sure
we pay down the debt.
Security.
Yeah. Now we're talking.
It's almost like a great plan.
It's almost like the left is fiscally responsible and the right is saying, let's just cut taxes and keep spending like motherfuckers. Almost what it sounds like.
No, I agree. Like I said, there are no fiscal conservatives in the country anymore at all.
No, there are fiscal conservatives. Fiscal conservatism means stay the way things are, which is cut taxes and spend more.
No.
Yes,
don't
it does.
define that for me.
Wait, hold on. Conserve means to stay the same. We've been doing this for 50 years now.
Okay.
If you are a fiscal conservative, if you like Reaganomics, if you like trickle-down economics, then what you're talking about is conserving the spend more, tax less ideas.
No, actually, I'm for spend less.
Fiscal responsibility is the better word for what you're trying to say, but your party doesn't have fiscal responsibility. The Republicans have a little bit, or the Democrats have a little bit better record on fiscal responsibility, but if they listened to the far left, we'd be far more fiscally responsible.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah.
It seems that Bill Clinton was the only one that could balance the budget, it seems.
It doesn't matter. What does that have
but
to do with
also the last Democratic presidents, right, are the ones that have like lessened the deficit. Republican, you know that, right? That Republicans are increasing the size of government and increasing the deficit every year.
I would say that anyone left or right that's increasing the size of government is a failure.
Okay, but do you recognize that Donald Trump increased the size of government?
Yes.
Okay,
COVID
your guy.
happened.
Or
Okay,
You're
so
right.
at a
but
quicker
you
rate
have
than Biden
beliefs,
and Obama.
and then you suspend that. Then you suspend belief and
COVID
vote
was real.
Republican.
Yes. $2.2 trillion in the CARES Act. Yes, that was real.
Did you just say
That happened.
COVID? Did you just say COVID is real?
Yeah, $2.2 trillion in the CARES Act actually happened.
But you
That's
you
right.
understand that Donald, like, this is the thing that maybe you don't know. So I'll try and explain it as simply as possible. George Bush every year increased deficit spending.
Good Lord,
Hold on.
Iraq. I'm against Iraq and
not done.
Afghanistan.
Hold on. Not
I'm
done.
against trillions of dollars in the Middle
Be
East.
quiet.
Yes.
Be quiet. Then Barack Obama, for 8 years, reduced deficit spending. Then Donald Trump came in and increased deficit spending before COVID. He was already on track to outspend Obama, and he was increasing deficit spending. And Biden, despite the fact that Biden has spent an insane amount of money, lowering deficit spending.
You know what the difference
guys are
is?
the fiscally irresponsible party, but you're all either just too lazy or too dumb to figure out that your party is saying we're the fiscally responsible ones, and they're not. Would you rather be punched in the face 5 times or punched in the face 1 time? And you guys are like, fuck it, give me 5.
Nobody wants to address the spending issue, and we all know it. Nobody wants to address Medicare.
But one
Nobody
does a
wants to
little
address
bit better
Social
than
Security.
the other. But one does a little bit better than the other. And the left, the far left, are the only people in this country that are actually advocating that we do things that would cut the deficit and cut spending. Republicans are literally running on increased spending and lower taxes. Show me a Republican on a national stage who has any sort of record of cutting spending. Just give me one.
There is none. It really should be. The Libertarian Party has a wing of that party.
Chase Oliver. Yeah, Chase Oliver. That's right. Not a Republican. The far right fringe. Yeah, they want to dissolve forward military bases, cut the size of the U.S. military,
yes,
and use it, and pay down the debt and fund things at home.
Yes. Why do we need it? Why do we need a military as big as we have?
You're a Republican. You need to increase the size of the military every year, right?
No, independent. I want to cut the size of the military.
Donald Trump wants to increase the size of the military.
And cut tax. And remember, cut
He
taxes.
said he's going to build an Iron Dome over the United States. How much do you think that's going to cost?
Nikki Haley was signing bombs the other day.
Oh, Nikki, I know Nikki Haley signed a bomb. Nikki Haley signed a bomb like that they're going to shoot at Gaza and basically said, finish them.
She's an awful human being.
Nikki Haley.
Yeah,
literally wrote a heart.
And it was celebrated by your party. Your party's full of bloodthirsty people.
Well,
you all
here's
pretend
the
to
problem.
be Christian and you're sitting there. Imagine you're just sitting there like writing your name on weaponry that's going to go unalive people. Like
awful.
She was not heavily criticized by the right with that. She was almost unanimously criticized by the left. Again, we hold better positions on the left. We are the ones that don't want that happening. That's your party.
I'm an independent. I'm fully on board with you and your criticism of Nikki Haley.
Listen, brother, you are not an independent. You are an independent in name only. You think,
there you go. I like
and
that.
Talk just like a MAGA. You're MAGA.
A Christian nationalist.
Yeah.
Is that an Eno? I-I-N-O, independent in name only? Eno.
Yeah.
Instead of a rhino. I'm an Eno. I like that. All right.
Yeah,
I'll be
really
the one Eno.
just like a Christian nationalist, like Felice said.
Yeah, no, I am for America first, for sure. I'm for Ukraine somewhere way less, way down the list.
You Christian?
Yes, I am.
Do you believe
I know an evangelical when I meet one.
Yeah, and your views on trans people let us know that, you're just a Christian nationalist. Like
no, hold on. I don't have any problem with people doing whatever it is they want to do. It's so long as it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Yes, you do. You said that women shouldn't have bodily autonomy because your mommy didn't think so. That's what you said. Your mom doesn't have to get an abortion. You understand the opposite is not. The left isn't saying we need to force women to terminate pregnancies. What we're saying is every individual person, not woman and not male, I know you're obsessed with gender, has bodily autonomy, right? Men enjoy bodily autonomy. You, Clint, I can't force you to get a vasectomy, can I? I can't
No.
force you, if I need some blood, to give me your blood, because you have say over your bodily autonomy. And all women are saying is, just like everyone else is enjoying bodily autonomy, I also would like to have bodily autonomy.
Are you
And
talking
you're
about
saying,
women? Or are you talking about birthing persons? Which one?
are you married?
I bet that joke
Are you
slays at
married? Is my
church.
next
No,
question.
birthing persons. I
Are
mean,
you
isn't that
married?
we
Give
want?
your
Let's be
hot wife a
respectful.
hug
Shut
for
no
me.
no. This is you being a
Oh, come
douchebag
on!
and
I want to
avoiding
be
the question. No,
respectful.
you're being a douchebag. And instead of
He's a
answering the
bigot.
question,
He's a
you
bigot.
you don't have any response. So you're just like, fuck. What am I? Oh, I
No,
have to go
I'll
to.
be a
Here's some
bigot.
more
Let me be a
trans
I'm not.
bigot real
I'm not
quick.
against. I'm
Then
not
answer the
against
question.
birthing people. I'm not
Then
against
answer the
birthing people, and I'm
question.
not
Then
against
answer.
biological women in any way, shape, or form
It's
Well,
at
people
all.
with uteruses. We're talking about people with uteruses,
Okay,
right?
birthing
It
persons.
doesn't matter. Clint, everybody, I don't care if you have a uterus or not, has bodily autonomy. Do you
Okay.
understand that? Every
Yes. So I
person should be
shouldn't
able
be
to
forced to take a
make
vaccine then.
decisions. Yes, absolutely.
we agree with
When
that.
We're on
has
the
the
same.
left
We're
said,
on
let's
board.
hold
No,
people
we're
down
not.
and
Wait,
vaccinate them?
hold on. We're not on the same page. Felice and I are being logically consistent by saying that you can't be forced vaccinated or forced to abort. You are not on our page. You only like that when it comes to vaccination, but you're
I like the fact.
100% okay with forcing women to carry a
Hang on.
pregnancy.
No,
So
I
don't pretend we're on the same page here, because we already heard your stance on abortion earlier. So
I
unless
love
you're
the fact.
changing your stance now,
No, I love the fact that you are
should women be
willing
allowed
to
to have an abortion all 9 months?
hang on
I'm just wondering.
all
Because that's
9
the only
months.
way you're logically consistent
No,
here.
Clint's about to give me a compliment. Go ahead, Clint. We have time
No, I'm
for it.
saying I love the fact that you guys are willing to be in opposition to the far left on that issue, on the vaccine issue.
That's
And
not
I
No, wait,
appreciate that.
Clint.
I
That's
Clint,
applaud
you
you.
just don't know what the
neocons.
position is. Nobody on the left has ever said that someone should be forced vaccinated. And the fact that you don't know that is sad. Listen, having a job, right?
Wait,
Being in
just you
certain, hold on, let me finish.
lose your
Being in
job?
certain social situations is not a right, Clint, right? And you Republicans have empowered corporations, right? And they have to create a healthy, safe work environment. Why? Because we're slaves to capitalism. Got to keep that workforce healthy, right? So we can go to work. And in doing so, if you choose, because we all have bodily autonomy and no one can make you do something to your body. Well, women, people with uteruses are forced to do things with their bodies, but not men. And nobody can make anybody do something to their body, right? Corporations can't. So if you choose to not be vaccinated, then you just have to go find employment elsewhere.
What if there is no employment that will allow an
Working for a
unvaccinated
private
person?
corporation is not a right. Sorry.
Okay, so okay, I agree, and also military, government jobs, and so on, right?
Yeah.
Nurses, doctors
Well,
that wouldn't take the vaccine.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are
the
those are
military, they
requirements when
don't
you sign
have
up for
rights in the military either. I don't think
You do
sign-
realize
they
Wait, hold on.
operate differently.
Clint-
The military is not a good example.
Yeah, Clinton, they've been forcing vaccinations on anybody in the military for
You
decades.
don't know about that?
no, I do, but
It's like
they were
hundreds. Yeah, they don't have bodily autonomy. You don't have bodily autonomy in the military.
they didn't allow exceptions, and they kicked people out of the military for not taking
Yes,
the vaccine.
that's your choice.
Yeah.
That's the choice.
Okay, you do realize that in a blue state called New York, that there were doctors and nurses that were given back pay for being terminated from their jobs by not taking the vaccine. You know this is a big case.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I was saying it's crazy that Felice got flagged for bullying. She'll be back in a second.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything?
Well, I'm saying I think that the fact that that case came down and that they got their money, they got back pay,
But that's
and
not
got
our
their job
position.
back.
But it's not our position that it should be forced. So what are you arguing right now?
I-
Again, the problem that
You
we
know,
have
this
here,
is a
the problem that we have here is, and I'm going to ask the question now that you ignored it for long enough. Are you on board with women having the right to an abortion all 9 months?
no, I'm not.
Okay, then we're not on the same team like you said before. We are logically consistent, and you are not.
So all 9 months.
Yes.
Okay. So so viability doesn't matter.
No.
So a baby that could live outside of the womb at 7 months should still be able to be killed and not have any rights as a citizen of the United States.
Well, see, this is the problem with how, and this, look, I used to be a conservative. I worked for the Republican Party. Do you notice how you have to change the wording, Clint, in order for it to sound bad? We're talking about an abortion, right? A medical procedure. And I
Yes.
said a woman should be able to have an abortion all 9 months, because I think that should something come up in the 7th month and that woman is forced to choose to make a very difficult decision, I think that she should be allowed to make that decision. Now, does that mean that there won't be instances where somebody just electively chooses to abort a pregnancy? No, of course not. But if I'm going to stay logically consistent, I have to say my views on when life begins. I don't to force that on them and force them to continue to give their resources and carry this child, right? So what I say is, it's not my role to tell somebody what to do and what decisions to make with their doctor. I also don't believe that the government should be part of that decision on a medical procedure with a doctor. I think the doctor and the patient are the only people who get a say in that. And you're saying, no, I also get a say for some reason. For some reason, in that scenario, your opinion matters.
No, I guess, I mean, so we would need to be consistent throughout law. I mean, like, a pregnant woman gets killed by a drunk driver. How many murders are there? There are 2.
Depends on the state.
Okay, but there are 2. There are 2, and potentially 2 life sentences.
Not always. No, not always. It depends on the state.
Okay, well, in a lot of states, you're right. It's state by state.
In red states, generally, yes. A lot of times there's a different word for it. It'll be like manslaughter instead of schmurder. But yeah, but again, that is a woman who had every intention of carrying her pregnancy through, and someone else caused the child or the pregnancy to terminate. So again, that's out of her control, right? She should have control.
She's on the way to the abortion clinic, and the same happens. She's made the decision that she's going to unalive that child.
Yeah, it was still somebody else. It was still
somebody else. Yes,
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
So, but my point is that the law recognizes that baby. The law recognizes
and I think that's
baby.
wrong. Yeah, conservative law recognizes that. I don't.
That's wrong.
Yeah,
so
I think
it's wrong.
I think I think it's wrong. I think it's inconsistent logically.
What if the baby could potentially live outside of the womb, but then hasn't come out yet?
Clint, stop. We're not doing this. Let me just, first of all, you're trying to have some scenario where late-term abortions, you think women are just like, oh, I decided, and by the way, this is 0.001 or 0.0001%. Like, this never happens, Clint. Again, you're on the fringe of something that never happens, but you're basically saying, like, one day a woman's just like, oh, I really was gonna have this baby. I'm at 7 months. Now I don't want to. That's not what happens. Let me like, I've said this story, what happened to my sister before, but she very much wanted a baby, had a nursery, had it all planned out. But unfortunately, something happened and that baby was not going to live. Like, they're like, you can have a live birth, however long this baby's not going to live. My sister lives in Texas. She's also really evangelical, really red. So, she's like, I'm just going to do it. But the point is like, the point was like, hey, some women, when they know, right, that their baby's not going to live, they can't bear to see the baby, to hold the baby, and that's a choice to terminate without holding the baby while it slowly dies. I don't know how else to say that except for that's literally, it's a choice of mentally, can you handle that? Like, do you want to do that? And my sister did for about 5 hours. But not every woman can mentally do that because the baby's not going to live and they know that. That's what a late term abortion looks like. It's not some woman being like, oh, I don't care. Like, it's the most horrific, life-altering situation you could ever be in. That's what they are, Clint.
Let me let's flip to the other side. So let's say that I get someone pregnant. the old-fashioned way, let's say.
Yes,
And
and the baby suffers. That's correct.
no, and let's
And
say
just to be clear, while
that.
that baby that is happening, the baby is not doing well.
Okay, hang on. So let's say that the female decides that she wants to have the baby. I don't want her to have the baby. I want her to get an abortion.
Too bad.
Okay, so do I have to pay child support for that baby?
Yes, 100%.
What if I don't want the baby though?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, but so the female gets to
Think she should
decide.
be able
Yeah,
to
because she
'cause
carries it
bodily
in her
autonomy.
body. Yeah.
Okay.
If you could figure out a way scientifically to transfer that and put it in your body and you gestated the pregnancy, then the decision making would transfer to you. But since we haven't figured that out yet, we're just going to go ahead and leave it with the person who's currently gestating the pregnancy. But yeah, you
Okay,
don't get a say in somebody else's bodily autonomy ever. That
Okay.
shouldn't be a hard concept to grasp. You don't ever get to say what somebody else does with their body ever.
Okay, so we disagree then, we disagree on whether the baby should be born or not. She decides she wants it to be born, yet I'm still held accountable for child support
Correct.
for 18 years.
Correct.
Oh, I would think that would be a little bit unfair.
Well,
A lot
I'm
of people
sorry
would
that
feel that's
I'm sorry
unfair.
that you feel that way. Maybe next
What if
time,
I'm
maybe
on the
next
left?
time you'll use protection and you'll make better choices. But it's
Mistakes
still,
happen.
but the fact that that baby exists does still not give you the right to tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body.
Now we're gonna call it a
I'm
baby.
sorry that would be unfair to you. That sucks. Sometimes life's unfair, but the one place I think we should all be able to agree on is that yes, life can be unfair, but we still shouldn't be able to tell somebody what they can and cannot do with their body.
So it used to be a fetus, but as soon as we start talking about child support, it's a baby.
Yeah, it's you know what's weird, and
Amazing.
you know what's weird, and this is what drives me nuts about all my conservative friends. Like, you don't recognize how tone deaf you are when we're talking about a woman like for 9 months carrying a baby.
I've been through it 3 times, trust me.
Your retort to that is, but what if I have to lose some money? These aren't are you saying that like you losing money is equivalent to a woman, her body changing forever
Being
and going
ripped
through the nightmare
apart.
of carrying a baby to term and then having that baby and then dealing with the postpartum depression, the body changes, the sleepless nights, raising a child, and you're like, but what if I lose some of my money? Do you see how tone deaf that sounds, Clint?
No, I'm
No,
just
no.
saying that it can be
What could
unfair
you,
on both
Clint,
sides.
have a vasectomy? You have options too. What can you do with your body, Clint, that you have decisions over so you don't end up in that position? That's what
I
you need to
agree.
be asking yourself.
I agree.
Clint, are you still married?
No.
I had a feeling.
That's funny for those on the
No,
left?
you're talking about making decisions about your wife's pregnancy. Like
No, I had 3. I have 3.
I know, but you're
I've done my
talking
part.
about child support. I'm just
We need-
saying these
we need more-
comments
we need
don't
more
sound
people in
like
this.
something that a woman would really enjoy listening to. That's
We
what
need
I'm
more
saying.
people in this country because there's not enough to support the future.
So let's just force women to carry
Force
babies
women
all the
to
way
have to-
through.
you
Yeah.
heard it right here.
Take away their
Christian
autonomy because
nationalists.
Clint
We
needs
need more people.
Christian
Have y'all done your part? How many kids do y'all have?
I have 1
Zero.
kid, and I also
Zero.
don't think it's a
Oh,
pro-
okay.
and
Okay,
I
I
also
have
don't
3.
think we need more people, Clint.
We
I
do.
don't think we
Elon Musk has 10.
Well, Elon Musk is a fucking moron, and you guys
Okay,
think because
and he
he's
says we
rich
need
Oh
that
more
my
he's
people.
God,
brilliant.
you are an Elon Musk fan.
Yeah.
You know about Elon Musk and what he's doing.
He's
Elon
rich,
Musk, if
therefore
you
he
guys don't
knows
know,
everything.
Elon Musk probably has like a sickness. I mean, outside of narcissism, but he believes that he has, fabulous genes and genetics, and it's actually his job to populate the earth. And he believes he should have as many children as he does. He looks for women to basically, he's like, it's like a Nick Cannon situation.
Yeah, no, there are
there are countries
incubators
in the
for
world
It's
that have a
Nick Can-
population
There's a word
crisis.
for it. There's a word for it.
Yeah, he has incubators. and
Yeah,
Clint
you
loves
should read
that.
The Birth
Guys,
Dearth. It's a great
there's
book
a-
for people
Listen,
like you.
guys,
You'd really
there's
enjoy
a
it.
population crisis in many countries, and it's about to hit the United States.
Who cares? What's
It
going to
is
happen,
hitting
Clint?
the United States. Yeah, it's called, what's happening in Korea? Women will no longer have sex with men because they don't value them. They
Look at the
don't
mess in
believe
Japan.
bodily
Look at
autonomy.
China.
They don't
Clint,
respect them. That's
if
what's
y-
coming here. That's what's coming here.
Just
You
as
don't
a
about to
worry
man,
have-
about it.
Clint, just as a man to man here, if people like you would shut the fuck up and quit ruining our relationship with women by dehumanizing them, we'd probably have more children. But people like you exist,
Definitely.
and women are like, you know what? I'm not really willing to take the risk. Like it's you're the problem. It's you. The reason women don't want to have babies is you. People like you who think they're incubators and you get to own their bodies.
I
You
had
are the
3.
problem, and yet you are so self-centered that you
Then
won't
she
recognize, like,
ran.
oh, it's us. It's conservative men that are responsible for all of this. You are not the saviors for this. You don't have the solution. You fucked it up. We're trying to fix it. And the only thing you have to do, this is the crazy thing, all you have to do is stop trying to control women. That's so easy. Just do that. Stop telling women what to do. See them as equal. Allow them to make
Stop
decisions for their
abusing
bodies.
women.
And watch
When
that
women
birth
say
rate.
they were SA'd, believe them. All those things, Clint. All the things you would want for yourself, Clint. That's all you have to do with women, and you guys can't manage it.
There was a national movement of women saying, like, yes, it's like it's meant to be abstract, but they're like, yeah, like we're safer with bears. And instead of looking at that and being like, all right, well, maybe like physically, I don't know, why don't you look at that and question, why do so many women not want to be with us? Maybe it's us.
There is a crisis in the country.
Yes,
You're right.
of conservative men who won't shut the fuck up. That's the problem. Nobody cares about the patriarchy anymore. Everybody wants it dead except for the conservative men. And that ideology has passed. We don't want it anymore. Even like evolved men, younger men, we don't want that anymore. It wasn't beneficial for men and it wasn't beneficial for women. Frankly, like it fucked up our society. So we want something a little bit different, but you guys won't shut up. You guys are the ones that are ruining this for everybody.
Yeah, I think you're going to need somebody that's way more far right than me to accept all that blame for sure.
It could start with you. You could have a little bit of guts. Look, I left the Republican Party in 2016. I was I was religious, I was conservative, and I admitted that I was wrong, and that sucked. I lost a lot of friends and I lost family, but I did it because I was no longer going to pretend to be principled while it was very clear that I wasn't principled at all. And that, I think, is what we've exposed today. You claim to have principles. I'm sure you talk about your principles, but you don't seem to actually have any principles, right? And you can't really have principles until you view everybody equally. We know that you don't view women equally, and we know that you don't view trans people equally. So we know that there's probably some other groups too. But even if there's not, there's at least 2 groups of people who you don't believe should have equal rights to you: a conservative white Christian man. And that's why you guys are the problem.
I can accept a whole lot of criticism, but I won't be told that I'm against trans people. I'm
Well,
not.
you are. So guess what? You are going to. You're going to hear it.
Women.
You're a transphobe, and you don't support the right for women to make their own choices. I'm
If
sorry
you-
that hurts
if
your
you
feelings.
think- if you
Toughen
think
up,
that I'm afraid-
Toughen up, Buttercup. This
If
is
you
just
think
some
I'm afraid to
criticism.
hear that I'm
Pretend
a
on your Division
transphobe-
II basketball coach, and you just double dribbled. Would you get mad at him for pointing out that you double dribbled? Probably not. You'd be like, thanks, coach. I won't double dribble anymore. Well, you
Man, this
just
makes-
double dribbled, traveled, then somehow got offensive and defensive 3 in the key, and I'm pointing it out, and you're like, I won't be lectured on my basketball skills. No, dude, you're fucking this up. Man to man, you and people like you are fucking this up. It's not good for my daughter. It's not good if you have daughters. It's not good for anybody. Swallow your fucking pride. Recognize what conservatism has done, what conservatism advocates for, and just be better. It's okay. You can be better than this.
When you call people like me transphobes,
Oh,
you
toughen up,
further
Buttercup.
divide the country.
Toughen up. Toughen
You're
up. You said
further
you wanted
dividing
to
the
ban
country.
trans people from
They're
sports.
Hey,
Cry
when you
more.
point out
I
my
did not say that.
bigotry, when you
Yeah.
point out my bigotry, it makes
hurts
me
my
feel
feelers.
bad. Stop. Like,
Boy,
own,
y'all-
it,
Man,
own
this is-
it. Own
This
it.
is good
Own
advice
it.
I'm
This
giving
is-
you.
You
It
Listen,
hurts your
y'all.
feelings, but it's good advice.
This what y'all are doing right now is why Trump had the chance to win. Without
No,
what
he
you're
has
doing
a
right
chance
now,
to
he
win
would
because
lose.
of you. I'm not voting for him. You are saying that because I point out that you guys are bigots, that it's
Yes.
my fucking fault. No, you're the bigots.
When you call
Trump,
names,
me talking
it divides
doesn't
the
change
country.
anybody's vote. At the end of the day, it's still your dumbass going in there and voting for Trump, not me. I
You
didn't
changed.
do that. I
Hold
didn't
on,
do
you
that.
changed. You changed in 2016.
Yeah, because I can read, bro. I just started
Okay.
reading things.
So do you suppose that it would be a good idea to try and identify others like you in 2016 that could change?
I'm trying, but the one thing that sucks about conservative white men is they've never been told no or that they were wrong ever. They thought that like the stuff that they were getting in life was because of them and not because they come from a patriarchal white
No,
supremacist society. And
guys, you're missing it.
once you recognize that, once you learn that, you can't not see it anymore.
You have to
You can't
learn.
unsee it. It's
You
burned
have
in
to
your
learn how to.
brain and you
You
haven't
have to
seen it
learn how
yet.
to influence
And so
people.
you're essentially the same as like telling a NASA astronaut, let me tell you what the moon's like. They're like, bitch, you haven't been to the moon. You don't know any of this stuff. So like
Clint, we are
I've been
influencing
you haven't
people.
been
But
here.
you're not. You're
Clint,
not.
we have thousands of people that listen to us talk to each other. It for
Okay, I
all
get
week
it,
long.
but I'm
So
telling
we
you,
are influencing people, whether you like that or not, or choose to acknowledge it. That's your choice.
RTP, you said that you changed in 2016. There are people like me who
Yep.
are not bad people, that are logical people, that are smart people, that have a higher IQ than most,
I don't
that
care.
could absolutely change, but will never change if they're
Brother,
called a phobe or a homophobe. They won't.
brother, the bitch assery of saying I'm not gonna change because you're a meanie. Like, no, we're not the same. We're not the same. We're not,
Divide
because
the
if
country
you point
with the
something,
rhetoric.
if you point something out to me, like earlier in this live when I didn't hear what Felice said, and she's like, "What the fuck? You didn't hear what I said? I just said that." I was like, "Okay, my bad." That's the difference between us. Like when somebody points out something that I'm not consistent about, because now I've gone through all of this and I recognize that it's actually okay to be wrong and just try and be better. Like, yeah, we're not the same. I'm pointing out things about you and your society, and you're like, well, if you guys would stop pointing it out, we'd probably change. Toughen up. Be tougher. Be
No. I'm
tougher.
saying make your case, be logical, be respectful, and don't call people names. I mean, it's
Listen,
not. You're not
there's
going to influence
Hey,
people that
bigotry
way.
is
has
not
a
a name.
definition.
Yeah,
Bigotry has a definition, and you're doing it. So if you fit the definition, then don't be upset. Are you telling me you don't
a
fit the
person who
definition
is
of bigotry?
obstinately or unreasonably attached to a belief or opinion, especially one who is prejudiced against or antagonistic toward a person or people based of their membership of a particular group. That's what we're saying you are. That's
That
not an
completely and
insult.
totally. I do not fit that definition at all.
See, that's
Wow.
crazy that you
At
don't think
all.
that. I don't think you're
Wow.
very good at like self-reflecting, to be honest.
I am not. I am not
You're not
against.
self-aware, Clint.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
have
against.
no idea
I'm not
who you
against
are.
gay people. I'm not against
Yes, you
trans
are.
people. I'm not
Yes, you
against
are.
African
Yes, you are.
Americans or
Yes,
Spanish
you are.
Hispanic people.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
not against them
Yes,
at
you
all.
are. You can. Yes, you are.
I'm really
This is the
not.
crazy thing, and this is the hard part when you come out of this. If you ever venture out of this little thought bubble that you're in, the hard part is being like forgiving of yourself and recognizing that your bigoted stance that was bred into you, right? It was part of the culture, and it's your job to be the change. And you can admit it and move on, and it sucks, it's painful, but you can still do it. What you're doing is you're saying, I'm not bigoted because in my mind I don't hate trans people. But
No,
if you
I'm for them doing whatever they want to do.
except for playing sports, apparently.
We are. Police already
See?
said she wants fairness. She wants
See?
fairness in sports.
No, we're not
I
talking
agree.
about Felice. Don't change it to you. You said
I'm
sports.
I'm on board with fairness in sports.
Okay, so you no longer have a problem with your daughter playing sports.
But
with
you
a trans
weren't talking
person.
about fairness in sports. To be fair, Clint, you were saying that you were implying that the trans people that want to play sports are predators in locker rooms. So for you to talk about
I never
fairness,
said
stop.
that.
No,
I
and
never
then
said
you
that.
moved on to the argument about fairness in sports. But wait, I just want to go back to something you said, Clint. I want to say something. I followed you. I hope you do come back, because I do agree. It's hard to hear things like, I'm definitely one of those people. I'm much better at accepting criticism, but like, because of things that happened to me when I was younger, like criticism, it almost makes me freeze and like stop listening, and it's hard to take, especially publicly. So I do hope that you come back and that you have more conversations with us. Like, and you are welcome back. And some of like the people that hang around with us and in our group are definitely Republicans who we fought with for months and, you know, have just come back. Like
Do you
you're
guys
more
realize
than
I don't
welcome back anytime you want to be here.
I don't know any conservative friends that are to the right of me that would even be willing to have a conversation, guys. I don't know one, not one. I'm here talking to you guys, and I'm
Yeah, and
being
I
called
acknowledge that.
names.
That's what I was trying to do with
They
what I
won't
said,
even
is
show up for the
acknowledge that.
conversation. They will not even show up to even hear what you have to say.
Do you think it was wrong for people in the 60s to call people who wanted segregation racists?
People who wanted segregation?
Yeah, was it wrong to call them
The
racist?
conservatives that said
No.
it's always
Okay,
been this
wait.
way.
No, of course
Let's
not.
not
Okay,
change
so-
anything.
Wait. Hold
So
on. I'm not going to let you do that and say that
I'm
it wasn't
not-
some Democrats in the
wait,
South. I'm not going to let you do that.
Hold on. So yeah, that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, for this conversation.
Were there
it doesn't.
racist
Oh my
Democrats
God.
too?
Yes, they were.
Okay,
So it doesn't matter
perfect.
for this conversation. She said conservatives, though, and I don't think you understand the difference between Republican and conservative. Conservatives are people who want to keep the country the same. So at that point, anybody who wanted things to stay segregated were conservatives. The
They
people
were
who wanted
conservative Democrats.
the people that wanted to continue
Conservatives,
slavery are
yes.
conservatives. And she said conservative, not Republican. So it was your misunderstanding, not hers. But more importantly, so you agree that sometimes it's okay to point out people's behavior if it's wrong and it fits the description, like certainly it did there. Well, you're fitting the description of bigotry, and what you're mad about is that we're using the word. And I'm just wondering, again, man to man, Clinton, why aren't you looking and saying like,
You
why
called me a
does so
transphobe.
you are a transphobe? Why do so many people agree that I am a bigot and a transphobe? And if like man to man, you should probably self-reflect on that.
Man to man.
You should probably ask yourself why so many people, the majority of this country, would consider you transphobic and a bigot. Ask yourself why. Is it because we're all wrong?
I would say it's not a majority, and I say that's why we're so divided as a country.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
we're
the majority
divided
that would
because
call me
we
a
don't
transphobe.
want. Yeah, but we're the ones fighting against bigotry. You're fighting to protect it. See,
The
that's the difference.
people that are to the right of me that would never show up for this conversation
are pussies. Yeah, I
are
know.
angry.
They're all my
They're
family.
angry and they're afraid and they don't want to be
And
called a
dumb.
transphobe.
And also
I'm willing to show up here and absorb it all
Good.
just to have the conversation.
Good. Then it's.
I don't
okay.
have to
like,
agree with it. I'm
Well,
willing.
I don't-
I'm willing to allow you to have your opinion.
Listen,
I know
brother,
that I don't
listen.
hate people. I don't
Brother.
hate people.
Brother, that phobia doesn't mean hate, it means fear. And
And
everything
I'm not
you've
afraid of them either.
wait, be quiet. Everything you've brought up about trans people is a fear. It's not a fear like, oh shit, I've got to run away, I'm afraid they're going to harm me. It's a fear of things changing, right? It's a fear of suddenly there being trans kids on your kids' sports teams, and you fear that. You fear that like we won't have kids anymore. There's a birth rate problem. You fear that women are just going to abort every baby. Everything that you've brought up today is based on a fear that you have. Conservatism is just insert word phobia. That's what conservatism is. People that are terrified of the world that is changing around them. So maybe the problem we have here is that you think when I say you're transphobic that I mean that you just hate all trans people. No, you're afraid of trans people. Them existing kind of fucks you up a little bit and you push away. Like this is your reaction. That's what phobia is.
You're welcome to your opinion.
That's what it means, brother. That's
No.
what it fucking means. This isn't an opinion.
You-
Phobia
you-
does
first of all,
not mean
you don't-
hate.
you
So
don't
when you
know
said
me
I'm
or
not
It's
my life.
Latin.
transphobic,
It's a Latin suffix. It does mean fear. You're
You
just
said-
incorrect about the meaning of it.
yeah,
You
said
just-
I don't
but you
hate
don't
trans
know me.
people, but you're not being accused of hating trans people. You're being accused of being afraid of trans people. So you're taking offense to something I said that's not even what I said. Do you see the problem here? You're so afraid to admit that you're listen, spoiler alert, I'm transphobic. Spoiler alert, most people probably are. The difference is like you have to recognize when that conditioning and when like decades of society have made you feel a certain way, when that comes out, you have to recognize like, oh, that's not me, that's my conditioning. I don't have to be this way. That's just how I was conditioned. And you push through that. being aware of your phobias is a great thing.
Maybe you're not real clear about where I came from. Where I came from, it was 100% racism at all times.
But I don't care where you came from.
No, but that's the
I
point.
left
We're
that
telling
situation
you.
volunteer. Hold on. I left where I came from on purpose because I couldn't handle being around those people.
And then you quit, and then you thought, I made it. I did all the work I needed to do. And we're telling you there's work to be done, Clint. You didn't make it yet. You didn't get rid of all. No, you got away from racist, but like you didn't leave all your bigotry. And we're just saying there's more bigotry you've got to sort through.
How long did it take you, bro?
I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it. It's been 8
okay.
years.
Yeah, it's a
okay.
we're
So
on a journey.
how about be nice and be sweet to somebody who's on the path?
No, because you know what happened? This is what happened to me. I had a gay cousin and a very liberal cousin sit down to me, and they would not let me escape with weasel words. They wouldn't let me play both sides. They pinned me down on the definitions because there was so much cognitive dissonance in me, just like you, that unless people speak plainly and clearly, nothing changes. That's what happened to me, and I'm doing it to you. And I understand this is public, and it's hard to admit that you were wrong, and I don't expect you to do it today. I'm just telling you, you should self-reflect. Go to a quiet place and think about, like, what is my issue with trans people? Where does that come from?
Everybody's got it, man.
I agree.
Like you said, you're
and it's
still
important to analyze that. So when I say that you're transphobic, don't get mad at that. Just analyze it.
When you say that someone's transphobic and you're saying it in the way that you said it in anger, man, that sounds like. And then you hold on.
No,
and
wait,
then you admit that yourself
painful.
are transphobic. What you're angry about is that you're still
I'm not
dealing
angry,
with
I'm
it.
passionate. There's a difference.
No, yeah, listen, it's uncomfortable. That's the point. So it's called deconstructing, right? And when you have to literally look at your internal bias, right, and dismantle it, it's a path, it's a process, and it's uncomfortable. Like we get called out not so much by the right, but by the left all the time. We say the wrong words, accidentally misgender people, discover an internal bias we weren't aware of, and then we have to deconstruct it. Like it's an active, it's a process. Like you're saying you left Northwest Ohio because it was so racist, and that's a start. But it's not enough to just not be racist, right? We have to be actively anti-racist, right? And we have to deconstruct our bias and continue on that journey, right? And dismantle other biases. It's a literal action that we need to be in the process of all the time, which sounds exhausting, but once you start doing it and you understand what you're doing, it just involves not being defensive. And when you're like phobic about something, when I'm like, oh, I don't like this, I don't understand it, you have to just dig in and say, where does this idea come from? Like that I would think that acceptance that I want as a human, another human shouldn't have, that's the question.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, and look, like you said, it's not an easy process for anybody. I mean, this is tough.
Oh yeah.
It's tough to really dig inside and be like, why do I believe what I believe? Right. Most people are not going to do that because they're too busy defending it. I'm literally, when I say that I'm in the middle, I'm the guy who wants to come up with solutions and bring together people on the left and right. I don't, and while I'm doing it, I don't want to be called names and like, man, you're afraid of this or you don't want that. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for solutions that make fairness.
Then you're not looking for solutions. Then you're not.
No, I am.
But frankly, you're not. Change is difficult. Change is emotional. Change takes friction. Change doesn't happen with a bunch of people playing fucking patty cake. What great change in this country have we ever made by playing nice?
No, I agree. You're right.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're asking you to allow this change to happen. And the change is just letting people be more equal. And you're saying like, be nicer to me and I'll do it. No, be less bigoted and we'll be nicer.
It's not about equality. I am for everybody being equal, man. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a libertarian. I love all people.
Didn't grant equal rights to everybody, so that's silly.
Doesn't even name women. That's why we need the Equal Rights Amendment. You don't know anything about the Constitution if you believe that. It granted rights
we also
to
need a balanced budget amendment,
male
right?
landowners.
No, I don't care about the balanced budget amendment. I think that's a stupid thing that
Yeah, of
conservatives have hung
course.
their
No,
hat on for a long time.
nobody cares about balancing the budget.
No, it
Nobody
doesn't.
cares.
No, it really doesn't matter. Like you can operate at deficits. The key is that if you operated in a deficit, then later on you've got to recover that money, right? So
Happen.
like there's no scenario where we go through COVID even with a balanced budget and we don't come out with a deficit, right?
I know it just never happens. We
Yeah,
ain't
but
paying down the debt. It ain't gonna happen.
yeah, I agree with you, but like I also don't think that's even near like the top issue in this country.
Well, until it is, and it will be,
Yeah, but it's not. So that's why I said it's not.
bro. It's not that many years in the future
What I don't
with
what-
interest
how
rates
much
as they are.
how much
It's
how much debt do we owe to other countries? What percentage of our debt?
we've got it's 129% of GDP.
What's our current GDP?
A lot.
I think our percentage of debt was somewhere like between like 30 and 40%.
I'm just saying our level
Okay.
of debt. The way they measure it is level of debt versus your annual
Yeah,
GDP. We're at 129%.
I understand
We're
that.
on the
A
way
lot
to
of our-
being Venezuela.
A lot of our debt we can forgive. But honestly, the first thing that we have to do is increase taxes. That's the very first thing. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want my taxes to go up. I'm a person who's paid a lot of taxes in my life. I don't enjoy paying taxes, but
Well,
our taxes have to go up,
we all know
especially
that
on the rich.
that's not a winning issue for
I
anybody
don't.
to get
Yeah,
elected.
because conservatives are just people who only care about money. You guys don't give a shit about the future of our country. You don't. We have to increase taxes. We have to. There's no.
You're not even hearing what I'm saying.
We're not going to cut the spending in order to get there.
What I'm saying is we are on the path to becoming Venezuela right now.
That makes
There's a-
no fucking sense.
Oh my
There's a great-
God.
there's a
That's-
great
Venezuela
book.
nationalized their oil.
Yeah. Okay. But that's maybe the only way out of it if we got there.
Well, yeah, but then when they nationalized the oil, then of course you conservatives came in and are like, no, that oil belongs to our oil companies. We want
What
that.
I'm
We're going to
what
do
I'm
a
saying
coup.
is that what I'm saying is
brother,
that
we're nowhere near-
inflation
we're-
can get out of
We're
concern,
nowhere
out of
near.
control.
We're nowhere near Venezuela, but we are much more likely to be closer to Venezuela under Republican control. What you're seeing in Venezuela is authoritarianism, which Republicans love right now. Like that's like their big thing. They love Viktor Orban. They love Vladimir Putin. They love Donald Trump. Like you guys are actually advocating for a system that would closer match Venezuela than what we have now. Like you guys would actually push us in that direction, and you don't even realize it because again, you don't even know what socialism and communism are. You just know that they're bad
Are you
words.
trying to tell me that Venezuela has a right-leaning government?
They have an authoritarian government.
Yeah.
So they're not on the left?
No,
My
you
friend.
don't. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you about it because I
Go
used to
ahead.
live in South America. It's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what's happening in South America. South America, because of Spanish colonization, is extremely conservative. Extremely conservative because of the influence of the Catholic Church. You don't
Socially.
understand what's
Socially.
going on there. That's why it's a fundamental misunderstanding of if brown people come here, then they're dragging the country left. They're more conservative in South America than here. Women have way less rights. You have no idea what's going on in South America. An
Socially.
an authoritarian, corrupt government has taken hold in Venezuela.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with left or right. They have quite conservative values. That has to do with an authoritarian, corrupt government has taken hold.
So they're not socialist.
You do not know what socialism is, sir.
What,
Please
what would you
stop.
call them? What would you call Maduro and
Let me
his
just
regime?
explain something. You're just saying socialism. That means bad, and that's not your fault either.
I'm asking. What would you call them?
Crony capitalism. Crony capitalism.
They have crony capital. They nationalized oil.
Yeah, but what do you think? It's corrupt.
You just said nationalizing oil
No,
was a
but
socialist
crony-
thing to do.
Okay, same with Russia. Do you understand? You can start out saying the word socialism, right? Like, here's a shocker. You have no idea what just because it's called the Chinese Communist Party, they are not practicing communism in China. Communism, the first rule is there's no government. You can't, there's just an authoritarian in control, basically giving out favors to people. Like you don't
It's the
understand.
big
Those words don't mean anything anymore.
it's the big lie that unfortunately all of us were raised with and our parents were raised with, that we've effectively done over here in America is taken all the atrocities that were done by authoritarians and fascists and said, "Oh, that was the socialism that did that." Like, if you know what socialism is, it doesn't cause any of that. It doesn't. In fact, most of these places, anytime an authoritarian takes over, it's usually like along religious or ideological lines. It's not really about economic theories. People don't take over countries based on economic theories. It's always something else. It's always social issues, which is what the Republicans are. You guys don't have any real positions. You just have, like, there's all these social issues that you have. You're anti-woke, you're anti-DEI, you're anti-trans. But are you interested in legislating, doing anything for our economy? Absolutely not. Not one goddamn thing.
I
Well,
lived in
okay.
South
Well,
America
hold
for
on
a
on
long
that point.
time. I lived in South America. What's happening are people, authoritarians get into power in a South American country. And what that means is then they get to divvy up and sell off the national resources and profit off of it. That's what Milei is doing in Argentina. He's now making deals with Elon Musk for their uranium. He's going to, and the people own those resources, and someone lies to the people, gets in control, and then sells off the people's resources and their livelihood. That's what happens in South America. And outside of that, because the indigenous populations can no longer rely on the government to provide anything. So what they're doing is actual communism, mutual aid. The government can't do anything from them, so they are relying on each other and setting up shadow economies outside of the government by which they distribute goods and services amongst themselves. That's the truth of what's going on in South America.
So are you for or against Bukele in El
What
Salvador?
way? Take a position.
No, I'm asking. I mean, you were just talking about
No.
how things go down there. Are you for the positive changes that have happened into El Salvador?
I'm not.
Okay, El Salvador is not in South America, sir.
I know, Central
What are
America.
you? Do you see how white people just feel like down there is any place? They think it's all
It's just
Mexico.
Mexico.
Central America. I said Central America.
Listen, what's happened? Central America is a very complicated thing to discuss, and it's not as comparable to South America because of U.S. intervention there, right? Starting with
Okay.
Daddy Bush, the director of the CIA, and a
Sure.
man named Felix Rodriguez, and what the CIA has done. Also in South America, but I mean, I don't Central America has so many problems that we can't. It's hard for me to even.
I hear you. Okay.
I'm not a big fan of jailing like half your population, which is what happened in El Salvador. They
Yeah.
just went in and they unjustly have put thousands of people in jail. And yeah, did it bring down their homicide rate? Yeah, it did. But I think that again, that's just like creating an authoritarian state to fix your problems. I don't think that's going to fix the problems. I will predict that this ends horrifically for El Salvador. Like, authoritarian, can you name an authoritarian regime that didn't
never
end in
worked.
bloodshed?
Well, yeah. I mean, the last thing that I heard from him
Could you
was
name one?
hold on. The last thing I
No,
heard from him
that's
was,
the question I asked. Don't say hold on and not answer the question I asked.
well, I don't view him as an authoritarian, I guess would be my thing.
Okay.
What-
What's an authoritarian then?
Well, I'll tell you what an authoritarian does not do. An authoritarian does not sit in front of his cabinet and direct his attorney general to investigate personally every single person in the room.
Yes, they do. That's happened many times.
Okay. Well,
you think Schmittler didn't know what every step of every person of his cabinet was doing? He accused all of them of like trying to subvert him.
They set up spy
This is
states.
literally what every authoritarian does. Every single one does
Yeah.
this exact thing, and you're like, you know what they never do? The one thing they all do.
he was talking about corruption, not for trying
Yeah,
to
they
subvert
were
him.
too. They were too. Putin does it too. Putin's like, all my opponents are corrupt. Investigate them. Yeah, dude, you're talking
Let me
about
tell you what happened.
They
Like
don't even
the
have real
reason they
elections
have a
there.
list, which it ends up being a blacklist, right? There's the good list with authoritarians, the people that will take loyalty pledges, and there's the bad list. Like in America, when that was when McCarthyism was taking over, and oh, not we got to name all the socialists and the communists, anyone with other, and they are put on a blacklist. That's what
Yeah.
authoritarians do, and they set up spy states. They all, you turn in other people. If you want to stay off the list, turn in your neighbor. Yeah, that's what happens.
They had
No,
a real fair election and he won. The
no
people
fair
voted
election.
for him.
Wait, and
No
then as
fair election.
soon as he won, he cut the number of municipalities from 262 to 44, and he got rid of 24 legislative seats. Took it from 84 to 60. He then
Cut spending.
so he won an election, jailed all of his opponents,
Gerrymandered.
gerrymandered the shit out of the country, and took the size of government and made it smaller.
Yes.
Only people loyal to him. And then he demands that those people be investigated so they don't turn on him. I think you just might be a cuck. I think this might be your thing. I think we found it. I think, like authoritarians.
I think that the people in the country are happy with how things are going.
No, they're not, because half of them are in fucking jail, and a lot of them are in jail for no reason. But you know who you only hear from? The people that are allowed to speak. Just like in Russia, you know who really loves their country? The North Koreans. They really, really love their country. But I bet you don't believe them, right?
Hey, let's do our best to try and find some common ground. How about some common ground? Can we agree that we should have a smaller military and stop policing the world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Win.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, yeah, you should come to the left. That's what we've believed for a long time.
False.
No,
That's
true.
false. No. A lot of the folks on the left are waving flags on the floor of.
Yeah, they're asking for a ceasefire.
No. They were waving flags because they gave a bunch more money to Ukraine.
The Ukrainian flags? Oh my god.
The Ukrainian flag.
That's not policing. That's being we're not policing.
What that's called is disgusting. We should not be waving another country's flag.
A Ukrainian flag. A country that was invaded, showing support for a country that was invaded.
Don't miss me with all that hypocrisy.
No, you guys
There's
let me tell you
tons
something,
of other
Clint.
conflicts all around the world.
Clint, it's a piece of cloth. Toughen the fuck up.
No,
okay?
There's tons of other conflicts all around the world we don't give a shit about.
And flags, Clint. What is up with you guys and flags? No, but this is the thing about you guys are so upset about these. They had little tiny, just so anyone that doesn't know what Clint is saying, he cannot stomach. Like little tiny, like 4-inch by 4-inch little flags. The
first time ever. It's never happened before.
They just had them and they were waving them like a few people, and Clint literally
a few.
Clint.
Meanwhile,
no, hold on. Meanwhile, Samuel Alito is flying the Appeal to Heaven flag, a literal Christian nationalist symbol of and flying a flag upside down that was a symbol of the Stop the Steal vote. But that's fine. Nothing to see here.
The schmaltzy flags
to
at the Trump rallies.
You guys are weird about flags.
Yeah, that.
You guys, there's nobody who is no group of people who has desecrated our flag more than MAGA. Putting that orange dildo's face on every flag they possibly can. You guys, the right does nothing but desecrate
we
the
agree
flag.
that we don't want to police the world.
That's all that you guys do. But I need to say this. One cool thing about being a conservative is you don't have to believe in dumb shit like, who cares about the flag? What does that doesn't matter. It's a piece of cloth. And I understand to some people it might mean a lot, but it doesn't need to mean a lot to everybody. For some of us, it can just be a piece of cloth. And for you, it can be the greatest thing in the world. That's what's beautiful about America.
Yeah, I hear that. But, we have this beautiful moment about not wanting to police the world, but yet now we're going to argue about whether we should send billions more to Ukraine. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, because you don't understand what's happening in Ukraine.
No, what I understand is there's a whole lot of conflicts all over the world that people on the left give a shit about.
Yeah.
And they don't want to send money to all those places. Yeah, they don't want to go and help.
Yeah, because here's the thing. If Vladimir Putin is able to do what he wants and takes over Europe, then he comes for us next.
Let's see it. I want to see it.
Yeah, World War I and II. Have you checked out history before?
You think he wants nukes? He doesn't want nukes at him at all. You think is he that crazy?
Yes.
So he's gonna start World War III and shoot nukes at us.
How would we shoot? Wait, hold on. how would we shoot nukes if we're not policing? What are we shooting nukes for?
No. I'm saying in retaliation. You're saying he's just going to come at us and shoot nukes at us?
No, I don't mean that. No, see, he's going to come at us because he wants to destroy America. And the way that he's doing it, by the way, do you believe Vladimir Putin wants to destroy America?
Maybe.
But
I mean, I don't know.
Wait, but I mean, he said it, right? You know that he said it.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of
Okay,
like
so then
death
why
to
do you
Israel,
think? Then
that
why
kind of
do you
stuff.
think he's pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the GOP to float fake stories?
I would love to see the proof for that.
Oh, there's a 1,000-page Senate Judiciary report on Russia's interference in the 2016 election. It's bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats agree on that. You should check it out. That's really crazy that you don't know that.
That's
But
wild,
listen,
dude.
hold on. We got to redefine warfare, though, Clint. This is a misunderstanding of older Republicans. You guys only think of warfare as like nukes, like cyber warfare. Like the new division of the military is all cyber. What Russia's doing really well right now, and why Ukraine is suffering in their war, has to do with Russia doesn't have a bunch of tanks, right, or a bunch of new artillery, but they have a great cyber military, and they are very successful in what they are doing in that division of warfare. They don't have to come at us with a bomb. Like, you gotta change the way you think.
No, I know the nukes on both sides are a deterrent for World War III, is what I'm saying. They don't want ours and we don't want theirs. So
That's why the
that's a
Ukraine
deterrent.
thing. So Ukraine didn't proliferate nuclear warfare. We said, give up your nukes and don't worry, we got you. That's
So
what
my-
we said.
And now
No,
you're
my-
saying just fuck it, let them be taken over.
Yeah, again, there's a whole lot of people, a whole lot of countries in Europe that need to be stepping up and helping
They
a whole
are.
lot more than they are.
They are.
It's
And
it's
there's multiple
But Trump
countries
said they
paying
weren't.
more of their GDP than we are.
false.
No, not fault. Do you really not know this?
The NATO stuff
Oh,
is
God,
nonsense.
dude.
It
Just
has
look
been
something
forever.
up for once in your. What are you supposed to contribute to NATO? How much?
What I know is that
How much? How much?
Are you
Just say
saying
I
that
don't know
like,
if you don't know, and I'll tell you.
is it a percentage of GDP?
It's a percentage of GDP. And are we the country that pays the most percentage of our GDP to NATO?
Who do we count on to
Are
count?
we the country that pays the most of our GDP to NATO?
I'm guessing probably not.
Correct, we're not. And guess what? When they buy weapons, when people contribute that money to pay for weapons to send to Ukraine, who makes those weapons?
So we're for the war profiteers that
No,
pay
no,
taxes.
we're
Oh,
not.
okay,
Who makes the
cool.
weapons? Yeah, you're a coward.
Y'all love more tax. You love
Yeah,
more
there you
taxes,
go.
but you don't
Yeah.
want to see them pay more taxes.
You just found a back door out of this conversation and took it immediately. Yeah, dude. This is
These
not.
are
We're
big
not
giant
at war.
companies with
We're
tons of
not at
corruption that
war.
buy votes
We're
and buy
not at
elections.
war. We're not at war. We are doing what we're obligated to do with agreements that we've made with people. We've done a good job staying out of it, and
So now-
Ukraine has done a good job of pushing Russia back. That's
So
what
now
happened.
you're with
if,
Nikki
now
Haley.
if you have a problem
You and
with
Nikki
that,
Haley are buddies.
at least frame it the right way. Don't frame it as a lie and then get mad at me when I get into the details and explain it for what it is.
And don't
Just
get mad at
stop
me when I
framing-
say you're
just
buddies
stop
with Nikki
framing
Haley.
Stop framing shit as a lie.
Okay, so you're for Nikki Haley now.
No, she's not. Nikki
What are you
Haley is a
talking about?
warmonger in a way I've never really seen before.
I don't. I see. I'm on the opposite side of Israel and Palestine. I think it's different because I see Israel as the aggressor now. Right? Israel is the one who is doing things that are unjustified.
We
Okay,
I,
support-
I am
yeah.
not pro G side. Okay, so I am pro ceasefire. I'm pro free Palestine. I'm pro peace. But in Ukraine, a bunch of Russians showed up in their country to try and take it over, and I do believe they have the right to fight back.
I am pro.
And if Russia goes back to their country, by the way, I don't support Ukraine invading Russia. Then
Okay.
Ukraine would be the bad guy.
Well, isn't that nice now that there's so many dead Ukrainians? Wouldn't it have been nice to have peace before that?
Yeah, it would have been dope if Vladimir Putin didn't invade another country. That'd be sick.
Would have been dope if we wouldn't have provoked him.
We provoked him to
Oh
enter
my
Ukraine.
God.
We've been doing it for years.
How'd we do it, Clint?
Oh, I don't know. Bioweapons labs on the border, weapons on the border.
Oh, so
similar
because
to-
Ukraine had their own military, that was our fault?
That's what
No.
Tucker Carlson told them.
It's our stuff. We had our stuff in their country.
Yeah, we sold
and
it to
Putin
them.
Didn't like it.
Yeah, we sold it to them.
Putin didn't like it.
Hey, yeah, who gives a fuck?
Okay,
Putin doesn't get to invade country. Putin
we're
didn't
cool with
like it,
nukes
so
in
we
Cuba
should have
then?
stopped it. What are we?
He's terrified to upset
Putin?
authoritarians. Your dad must have been really, really scary because
We're-
you are, for some reason, terrified to provoke someone doing something completely wrong. Who cares?
This dude has
if Putin
nukes,
doesn't
man.
like it?
He's got
Okay,
nukes.
so we should have just so we should have just told Ukraine to get rid of their weapons and not defend themselves because it would make Putin unhappy.
We should have just said it was just fine to have nukes in Cuba too, right?
Listen, whatever.
We should have been like, no problem. Send them on over there.
Whatever has led you to think that authoritarianism is good, I'm sorry, but you got to toughen up. You
it's
are one
not
of the
good.
soft. No,
I
you're
don't
soft.
like
you're just
dead
very
Ukrainians.
Soft. You're just
I don't like
very
dead
soft
Ukrainians.
and very scared. No, you don't care about that. You don't care about that.
No, I don't like dead Ukrainians.
Well,
I
then,
don't.
Please stop
do you think
yelling
there
that.
would be? Do you think there would be less Ukrainians if we didn't give them weapons, or do you think there would be more Ukrainians if Ukraine couldn't defend itself? Do you think they would still be in existence?
If we're gonna police the world and be involved in that
Do you think
stuff,
Ukraine would still exist if they didn't have the ability to arm themselves? Do you think they would still exist?
no.
Okay, great. So
So if we're gonna be involved, let's go put boots on the ground. We need to be on the ground in Ukraine and helping them.
Now who's the world's
and not allowing them all to die.
Right, now who's the world's police? I thought you didn't want to be the world's police.
No, I'm saying pick one.
Now you literally want to be the world's police?
I'm saying pick one or the other.
No, you're
Get in or
logically
out.
inconsistent.
Look,
we're saying
we're
we
out of
don't like
time.
aggression.
That's
we don't like.
stupid.
Listen, but that's a different idea. Like,
That is aggression.
no, but let me say, we don't like. I don't like aggression.
We should be peacemakers.
No, but yeah, well, that's a different thing. But I just want to point out something else, though. Like this also, there's other implications. Like I don't fully subscribe to like we're the good guys. America are not the good guys. We're arms dealers. You know, like if we're honest about what we're doing, we're arming both sides of conflict. You know what I mean? Like I'm not putting it in a position, and I don't want to, because the military, you know, the American military complex is criminal. Like period. We're war profiteers. I do
Except
understand
for
that. I'm
Russia.
just like I'm acknowledging that fact. But so what I'm trying to say is, like, I have a degree in history. History is very nuanced, right? Like, and you want to see things as black and white. Like there's a right and there's a wrong answer. Like we also have to talk about the global economy and stability, right? Like Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe and the Middle East. And because of that, what implications in supply chain and commodities does that, like, could we destabilize not just Europe, but domestically us at home? Like, yes, there are many implications with unrest in Ukraine and what Putin is trying to do and how that will affect the global economy negatively. I'm just saying this is very nuanced.
Yes, I got it. We spent trillions of dollars in Iraq and in Afghanistan that we shouldn't have. For what? For what?
Those are, I agree. Listen, we agree. I don't think we should have been in Iraq.
But we
in
were
Iraq?
for 20 years. So what I'm saying is now
But that
we're where?
doesn't have but that's not. What do you?
We're
mean?
now we're in Ukraine.
It
No,
doesn't.
we're not in
Ukraine. No,
Ukraine.
we're not.
You want us there. You are advocating
One
that
has
we go
nothing
to
to do
Ukraine.
with the other.
I'm saying that we get out or we get
By
in.
getting in? Oh,
No,
okay.
we get out. I'm saying we stop sending money over there.
That's
Stop.
stupid. Yeah, that's
Or-
really stupid.
or
It's
if we're
honestly
gonna-
so stupid. Why?
If we're gonna
What
defend
happens to
Ukraine, let's go defend them.
Wait, what happens to Ukraine if we stop sending money to them?
If we're gonna
and
defend
arms.
Ukraine, let's really
No,
defend
what
them.
happens? No, answer the question, you coward.
Let's get
what
no.
happens?
Let's get NATO
What
together and let's go fight Putin.
happens-
Let's go.
What happens? What happens in Ukraine if we stop selling or sending them aid?
It's a corrupt cesspool.
Oh my
Sending
Christ! You
money
are,
over there.
You are the most intellectually dishonest person. Why do you only answer the question that isn't asked? What happens
if
to
we're going
Ukraine?
to-
What happens to Ukraine if
No,
we
in the
stop
comments,
send-
I don't
what
want war.
happens to
I want peace.
Ukraine? What happens to Ukraine if we stop sending them aid?
I don't know. Whatever's gonna happen.
Do you think
But I'm
Russia
saying
takes over? Or no?
if we're
Do you think
if we're
Russia
going to
takes over?
defend them,
No,
let's go
listen,
defend them.
I don't know. Wasn't you saying I don't know and going back to your talking points? That's not what we're doing. You're advocating that we put boots on the ground while also saying we shouldn't be the world's police, dude. Here's the problem with you. You just don't
You
want to
gotta
be
pick
wrong.
one.
You don't
We
want to
have
be
to
wrong,
pick
but you don't
one.
actually have any real beliefs. You just want to be a conservative, pretend you're an independent, and you don't want to be wrong. So every time you're proven wrong, you say some
No,
dumb shit
I
that
think
is
Felice is
completely
quiet
off.
because she
That
agrees
is,
with me. Is what's
yeah,
going on.
yeah, that's likely. Yeah,
You
that's
see her
likely.
smiling
Felice,
right
is
there?
that why you're
She
quiet?
agrees with me.
Well, we'll ask her.
She does not agree with doing what we're doing.
Oh,
She
I don't
thinks
think what we're. I listen. That's. I don't agree with you because you don't have enough information about the situation. I have questions about the strategy of what is happening. I think everyone should. I think like we should all be questioning things. Do I think this is the best? Do I think in like 20 years we're going to look back and be like, oh, this was managed correctly? No, I don't necessarily think so. But
agreed.
that's the problem. These things are very messy, like, and it's very nuanced. I keep saying that. I
I
don't,
agree.
the answer is not to get farther in, though. Like,
Okay.
definitely not.
So what I'm saying is that what we're doing now is we're giving
Yeah,
them weapons so
it's
that
like
they can
shit
be
or
in a
get
meat.
off the pot type
Yes,
of thing. Is what you're
we're
saying.
giving them weapons so that they can be in a meat grinder and be killed.
Well, here's the thing.
How many need to die?
Yeah, but that's different than sending US. So I don't know about sending troops there. I do think like we're like here's some money, right? You can defend yourself, but you can't be offensive, which it's like what are we doing? It's the same, you know what I mean?
Crazy.
Like
It's crazy
but
talk.
at the same time I do agree because the opposite is like look what's happening in Israel, right? Like my position on that is like I don't think at this point I could go back through history and debate if the state of Israel should have been just created and indigenous people displaced. That's a different conversation. We're here
Yeah.
now. Israel exists, okay? I don't think that they should be wiped off the map or, anything like that. So should we provide defensive weapons? Probably. Look what they've done with offensive weapons. You know what I mean? Is that
Yeah.
something that Americans want to fund or have it on their head? I don't think
No.
so. But do I think in the case of Ukraine, who's been invaded, right? They have not aggressed. Like someone has aggressed upon them is my point. And like, yeah, now it seems like we're kind of making them fight with an arm tied around their back. Again, I don't think at any point this should involve US military.
Okay, guys,
troops.
listen. Putin's not going to stop. He's not going to stop. You do
There's
realize
a
that.
crazy person in charge of Russia. Yeah.
He's not going to stop.
There's a
So
crazy person.
we either got to like stop. We're basically we unloaded all of our old weapons and gave it to Ukraine so that they could get used and hopefully paid for. Oh, by the way, so that they could all die. But guess what's going to happen? They're going to run through all of that stuff, and Putin's never going to stop. And now what?
This is not true. You're
So
just
don't vote
making
for. So don't vote for the people who will do Putin's bidding. Don't vote for the
This is
people
Biden.
who don't take the people who are taking hundreds of millions of dollars from Putin. Don't take people who are in business deals with Putin. Don't vote for people who exclusively get all of their loans from Russian banks.
This is military industrial complex, guys. This is what's going on here.
That's part of the war, though. Clint.
Hold on,
Do you see
Clint.
that?
Listen, your party is in bed with the Russians. You don't have any credibility here. None. You guys are completely bought and paid for by the Russians. And if you don't know that, it's not because it's not true. It's because your news shields it from you. It's obvious. It's transparent. It's bipartisan. Russia owns the GOP. You're out of your goddamn mind if you don't think so. And
Okay,
so if you don't think so, go research it. I've got books you can read. I have citations you can go to. But listen, I've heard it long enough and we're out of time. I don't care about a Republican saying, we got to just put boots on the ground, also saying, let's not be the world's police. Like, you took both sides of that conversation. And I'm really do think
one.
you're just
Pick
too
one.
arrogant. You're too arrogant to admit that you've been duped, but you have. The Republicans lied to you. You've come up here and you've said a lot of stuff that's wrong, and that should embarrass you. And I hope it does. And I hope you reflect, but we're out of time.
God bless you, RTP.
Well,
You're a good
I
American.
followed you. I hope you
Be well,
come
bud.
back and talk to us. And you need to see what's happening with the Republican Party in Russia as another prong of that war, right? Like, historically, look back during World War II, Nazism was also proliferating in America. That was a disinformation campaign of the Germans. What's
Yes.
happening to the Republicans is a Russian disinformation campaign. It is part of the warfare.
I'm saying if we're gonna be in support of Ukraine, we should fight Russia and get it over with because it's going to happen eventually.
Okay, but your party supports Russia, so it doesn't matter. Like,
No,
you guys are
that's
pro-Russia.
not me. Then don't put
Well,
me in
then
that
leave the
box
part.
because I'm
Then
saying
stop
let's
voting.
go fight
Then
them.
stop voting for them.
No,
That's
I'm
what I
saying
said.
let's go
Don't
fight
vote
them.
for them anymore. If you really care about not being pro-Russia, you cannot vote for Republicans.
I think
Especially not in yours.
a little
Especially
more
not in
nuance.
your state. Every politician in your state that has any national recognition is. You can go look this shit up yourself. They are bought and paid for by the Russians. Ted Cruz, Ken Paxton, Greg Abbott have all been caught literally citing Russian propaganda.
All right, guys.
Yeah, look it up.
Hey, listen. 37% approval rating ain't going to get it done. You need a new candidate, and I hope to come back and have a good conversation when Trump's the president.
I look forward to him presiding from prison.
Yeah, we'll probably be in jail since he's
Yeah,
jailing all his
exactly.
opponents. So
I
you
hear
can
that.
visit us in jail.
Yeah.
I'll try to spring you out.
Oh, thanks.
All right, appreciate it.
Bye,
All right,
Glenn.
guys.
All right, sorry guys. I have a bunch of comments to catch up on here.
That was crazy. I feel like we were in a time warp for like 3 hours. I never got to read the jury instructions.
That's
Well,
actually kind of devastating. All right. Well, some of you may have noticed that Drew's outfit on his PFP and my outfit matched, which is why I changed clothes halfway through.
Is that what we're doing?
So Armando said, "Why is Jay dressed like Drew's PFP?" And then I noticed it, and then I left and I changed because I didn't want that anymore. Ash says roses are red. Drew doesn't believe victims. What a crappy take. That's a good poem.
Great poem.
Penny says, I want to thank you both for what you do. Felice, thank you for mentioning that you think in patterns a few weeks ago. I'm 50 now and could never figure out how my brain works. Since you said that, so many things are clicking into place. So thank you. Support women.
Makes me want to cry. Thank you.
She's going to cry. She's going to cry, guys. Keep doing it. Let's see if we can make her cry. Soli said, what comes after 69?
70.
Mouthwash.
Sully, a little spicy. I like
Ash
it.
again. Roses are red. Clint is scared of women. He's so good. Stacy says, you guys are just extra awesome today. Screw the patriarchy and transphobia. Love y'all. We love you too, Stacy. Julie says, you're awesome. Thank you. I assume that's for Felice. Chelsea says, engaging in personalities, Clint edition. About to be balding, bifocal, brandishing bigot. Also a bitch. Goddamn.
Engaging in personalities is what they say for insulting in Congress, in case anyone doesn't know.
Wasn't me. What shoes do ninjas wear?
What kind?
Sneakers.
Sneakers. Because they sneak.
Also wasn't me. Clint devalues issues that destroy women. And yes. What dinosaur loves to sleep?
Sleeposaurus. I don't know.
That was close.
What?
A Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus. Hey, this is random, but they're auctioning off a Stegosaurus skeleton. I'm such a dork, and it's gonna go for like, you know, I mean, millions upon millions.
That's amazing.
Where are you gonna put it?
I don't know, but I just heard my daughter. I haven't seen her for 5 days, and she just walked in, so I'm out. I'm leaving.
Aww,
Love you all.
Bye.
If you want an invite to the Discord, shoot me a DM. We'll get it to you. YouTube, do that stuff. Thank you for all your support. I love you all. I love my daughter more, so I'll be back tomorrow
Bye,
morning. And
guys.
every morning on the weekdays, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you tomorrow.